This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. We have a packed show today. Jets are in action tonight in Edmonton. Connor Hrabchak will join us just from the Hockey for All Center after both groups finished up today. First group went early for a game day skate and then a quick flight out to Edmonton to take on the Oilers tonight. The big boys, the top six, top 4D, Connor Hellebuyck expected tomorrow night in the Jets' final home preseason game. Connor will join us right off the bat. Brandon Rewucki's going to jump on. We'll get his thoughts on Jets camp, the situation so far, Bombers, and the Ryder Cup that's going on right now. Jeff Hamilton will come and take his victory lap for winning the WST poker tourney again, and then we'll focus in on the Bombers and TiCats tomorrow afternoon. We got to talk Jays. Huge win last night. Grand slam by Dalton Varsho. The bullpen pitches a perfect game into the seventh inning when they needed it the most. And the Blue Jays have a little bit of life. They're tied with the Yankees, albeit first place in the AL based on tiebreaker. So we'll dive into the final weekend of the regular season in Major League Baseball with Josh Goldberg. Get to the NFL Notebook with Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Coolbet lines for the weekend. And, of course, the world-famous WST Marble Race. So we got a packed show. I loved the Ryder Cup start this morning. Europe winning 3 of 4 points at Bethpage Black. We'll do a Breezy Bend golf report and fill you in on what's happening a little later on as the afternoon four-ball competition is underway. Listen, just before we bring in Michael Remis and get the latest on the Winnipeg Jets, huge thanks to all of our sponsors, our partners at Coolbet Canada, of course, our friends at Princess Auto, the Winnipeg Jets, and don't forget, everybody, tickets are going fast for the home opener in our WST section. If you haven't already, go to winnipegjets.com/WST and jump on your tickets for the home opener, as well as the other 5 games that we're going to be doing with the in the WST section this year. HSC Millionaire Lottery, I got some tickets last night, all fired up for that early bird draw. Rollies Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center, Canadian Club, F Apparel and Manitoba Battery, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug, Assiniboia Downs, Breezy Bend. Of course, we got a Why Not question of the day for Not Autocorp, but Waverly and McGillivray coming up. And some fan feedback from all of you for fansfirst.ca. Welcome to everybody in chat. Happy Friday to you all. Shout out to you podcast listeners. And welcome back, Michael Remis. What's going on?
Yeah, shout out to the podcast listeners. A lot of downloads this week, Hustler. People interested in, well, the Jets training camp, but the CFL rule changes, the hot topic of the week. So if you missed it yesterday, Commissioner of the CFL, Stuart Johnston, coming on with us for a very lengthy conversation. So big shout out to him for his generous use of his time, coming on and talking with you about the league and his vision for it. So very, it's exciting and nice that he could come on.
Yeah, you know what? I enjoyed the conversation, and I know, as always with something like this, there's some people that have dug their heels in on one side that, maybe weren't too complimentary of it. But I actually, more so than any interview in a long time, got a bunch of messages and notes. So I appreciate everyone that reached out that enjoyed it. And if you missed it and you want more information on, kind of the viewpoint of the league and how all of these changes came to be, certainly encourage you to check out yesterday's show in the conversation with Stuart Johnson. But it's all about tomorrow for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Looks like Zach Collaros is going to start. And you know what? With the exception of Chad Kelly, although if we want to call Nick Arbuckle the Argos starting quarterback, because he really has been all season long, Reem, it looks like for the first time, we're going to have all the QBs in action this weekend. Vernon Adams and Davis Alexander, Arbuckle and Nathan Rourke, BLM and Zach Caleros, and of course, Cody Fajardo, who is now the number one for the Edmonton Elks, and Trevor Harris. So it certainly does shape up to be a great week in the CFL. And obviously a massive game for Winnipeg, looking to get one back on the TiCats at home tomorrow at 2 p.m. at Princess Auto Stadium.
Yeah, it's interesting. 2 weeks in a row now. You have BC with the 9 o'clock Friday game. Love watching those. But the Bombers will have the advantage of seeing how BC performs and being able to act accordingly. They both won last Friday. Will they both win this week, both at home? Bombers hosting Hamilton at 2 and BC and Toronto. That should be a great game in the Dome with two great quarterbacks. Arbuckle, when he went down leading the league in passing yards, would have never projected that. It's crazy how these quarterbacks, Fajardo and Arbuckle, come off Super Bowl wins with an amazing regular season. And Fajardo keeping it going in Saskatchewan, who gave up so many points last week. I'm not 100% of the status of their DBs, if they have professional ones in the lineup, but it was ugly last week, and they're looking to rebound in Edmonton, who's looking for a win, and they have an outside chance at the playoffs, I think, but it's not looking too great. And yeah, Calgary, they got quarterback problems too. Vernon Adams Jr., he's playing, right? He's back.
VA is playing, is sort of surprised to me with the way that this point spread has gone. It's like Davis Alexander alone moved the line like 6 or 7 points.
He's never lost, Davis Alexander.
Surprising.
Undefeated.
And by the way, just before everyone in the chat says it, just a point of clarification. Cody Fajardo and Nick Arbuckle are Grey Cup champions, not Super Bowl winners. Michael.
Did I say Super Bowl?
That was kind of a funny Freudian slip.
Did I say that?
The continued Americanization of the game happening on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Did I say Super Bowl?
Yes.
I'm just, it's just
the Grey Cup. Grey Cup's actually here in Winnipeg this year, folks. In case you didn't know, November 16th, Princess Auto Stadium.
Look, we're just getting on board with that Americanization. It's good. It's the Grey Bowl now, right? Isn't that what they're going to start calling it?
Oh, man. So listen, Jeff's going to come on and we'll kind of dive into all that. One other bit of CFL news, which is on a real sad note, is that the Elks' new owner, Larry Thompson, passed away yesterday. That happened shortly after we were off the air. And I'll just say one thing about this Larry Thompson. I didn't know much about him. There was a lot of fanfare when he took over the team, partly because of how desperate Edmonton was to have an owner sort of take over and guide this team forward, considering how disastrous everything went during the Chris Jones era that threatened the franchise in reality. He bought the team, and Dusty went on with Reed Wilkins on Edmonton Sports Talk yesterday afternoon after this happened, and I checked some of it out. And he was telling a story about how when they met him for the first time, when they were introducing him, they were set up at the stadium for Edmonton Sports Talk, and they sort of corralled him, and he came over and talked to them a little bit. And, this was a guy that grew up absolutely loving the team. And the thing that, he said to them, guys, oh, it's going to be great this year. I'm really looking forward to it. And they're at the stadium. He looked over and he pointed to a seat, a few rows up in some section. He's like, you see that, guys? That's my seat. That's my seat. Grew up in that seat, still have that seat. And I just thought it was such a cool story for a guy that had obviously been incredibly successful in business, that loved the team, the league, the franchise so much that at such a low point, he bought it, but was still at the end of the day a hardcore fan of the team and the league first. So big loss for Edmonton, who it's kind of I don't know whether we want to say they've turned the corner. They're more competitive. They're expecting, I think, 30,000 potentially for this game on the weekend, which is great news. They are playing the Riders, which certainly does bring a few more out in Alberta. But it does sound like the family's going to be continuing Larry's vision moving forward, and that's a good thing for the Canadian Football League, because it was somewhat of a coup to have a guy with pockets and commitment and passion the way that he did. So obviously condolences to Larry's family and the entire Elks family, if you will, on the loss. But let's get to the Jets tonight, Remo. As expected, sort of, predicted this when we were talking with Ken yesterday. I mean, you could sort of see the way things were with the two groups as to how things were going to be split up this week for the exhibition game in Edmonton tonight and the home game tomorrow. And no surprise, we're basically going to be seeing lines 3 and 4 skate tonight. So Vlad, Iafallo, and Niederreiter will lead the way. Morgan Barron, along with newcomers Tanner Pearson and Cole Koepke, and line 2. And then another opportunity for Colby Barlow to show what he can do. He's going to be playing with Danny Zhilkin and Brad Lambert. And then Di Giuseppe and Figemo with the Gus Bus. David Gustafson in the middle. Isaac Phillips, Hayden Fleury, Stan and Villy playing together. And T. Konopoli will be happy. It's Bauer time. He'll be paired up with Ashton Sautner and DiVincentis and Poulter playing for the Winnipeg Jets tonight. Oilers side of things, no McDavid, no Draisaitl, no Nuge. Other than that, though, many of the regulars and former Ice player Matt Savoy is going to get a chance on the top line with Adam Henrique and Andrew Mangiapane. So if you are watching that game tonight, that'll be something to pay attention to. Darnell Nurse, Stetcher leading the way on the blue line for the Edmonton Oilers. Connor's going to join us in a couple minutes. There's a couple clips we want to get to, and we'll have some more of Scott Arniel, as far as for today. But we haven't talked a lot about the Kyle Connor contract this week, and there hasn't really been a lot of news about that. We've heard that, they're closing in on, a Marner-esque deal. But, I have heard from some other people it has somewhat been the structure of the contract that has been, a bit of a holdup. I mean, the Jets traditionally have not done a lot of money in signing bonuses. And I think that is something that the Kyle Connor camp has been pushing for. But this is, I believe, Drager from Overdrive yesterday talking about the Kyle Connor situation. Here's what he had to say on that.
Dregs has reported about, Kyle Connor and the Jets, being, pretty well down the road, at least in having conversations and having a lot of things in common, even though they haven't got all the details lined up.
Kyle Connor is an interesting one. Sure, there's a mutual appetite for him to stay, but I think that he's pushing hard on what the structure of that contract looks like. It'll be a Marner type of deal that Marner signed with Vegas in terms of the AAV. Winnipeg they can't afford to give out the big signing bonus money. And so what if the player goes, nah, you know what, I'm okay with the AAV, but I'm digging in. I want that front-loaded money, and maybe that's part of the reason why it's taken
And what
long.
if Kaprizov gets it, Panarin gets it, Eichel gets it?
Hard.
Like, if you're in that category, you're like, well, why am I forfeiting that?
There's guys way further down the list. Like in Toronto, they're handing fourth liners get bonus money on July 1st.
This is the thing, though. You said can't afford, or there's a difference, or won't.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's a very wealthy organization, that ownership
the guy who
group.
owns it's the richest guy in the country, I
But
believe.
they don't.
I could be wrong
Listen,
on
they have
that,
a different
but-
philosophy. There's a difference between can't and won't, because
Right.
I think that they.
Language is important.
Well, I think they can afford it, but there's a difference between won't and
right.
can't. That
I
would be
gotcha.
my add to that, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, I can't speak too much to, where David Thompson's role is in the operation. In reality, yes. I mean, he could obviously cut a check, but if you are operating a business and it's a major turn from the way that you've done business in the past and would change the way you need to acquire capital, that could be somewhat problematic. But I take from this optimism that they pretty much know where it is. And I do believe that the Jets that would not like to set a precedent. They haven't before with the Hellebuck and the Scheifele contracts. So I don't think they want to go front-loading these contracts and having to pay everything in bonus money. But we'll see how that goes. So that was just a little update on the Kyle Connor situation. We're going to get to Connor at the Hockey for All Center coming up in just a minute. We will hear from Scott Arniel in a few as well. But it's a great time to remind you, we had Milt Stiegel on, who earlier this week, great conversation with Milt. who, of course, is one of the faces of the HSC Millionaire Lottery. And the lottery is in full swing right now. There was a deadline yesterday, but there are still a ton of amazing early bird prizes, including the Super Bonus and the new Grey Cup bonus this year. But let's face it, when you're buying HSC Millionaire Lottery tickets, first and foremost, you're helping Manitoba's hospital on so many important initiatives to help improve healthcare in our community. And you're in for, as you can see on the screen, one of 5 dream home packages valued at $1.5 million, 4 in the greater Winnipeg area, 1 on Vancouver Island. Or you can simply say, show me the money, and become Manitoba's newest millionaire with $1.25 million cash. Go to hscmillionaire.com right now. Check out all the incredible prizes, the early bird bonuses, and more. Count yourself in to help the HSC, help healthcare in our community, and hopefully get that call to become Manitoba's newest millionaire at hscmillionaire.com. Want to shout out our friends at Rolly's Transfer. Of course, there's a lot of moving going on right now. Bombers trying to move up the standings. Players with the Winnipeg Jets trying to make moves up the depth chart. And many of you are moving. And of course, if you have a move for you and your family, lean on the experts at Rolly's, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba for over 60 years, to give you the white glove treatment on your road to your next destination. Check out their website at rollys.com. In the top right corner, you can click on Request an Estimate. Put in the promo code WST for a special discount for WST listeners on moving services and moving supplies, and then let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to go. And the friendly staff at Rolly's will turn it around real quick, give you a great quote, and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they are famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, lean on the experts at Rolly's Transfer. Find out more or request an estimate today over at rollys.com. And hey, shout out to Dr. Terry and the gang at St. Vital Dental Center. I know they'll be tuned in this afternoon for the marble race. And of course, it's been great to hear the feedback from so many WST listeners that have gone to see Dr. Terry and his great staff at St. Vital Dental Center for all their dental needs. They've been doing it for generations of Winnipeggers. Now have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's Road, with convenient free parking right behind the building, state-of-the-art equipment, and an amazing staff to take care of all of your dental needs. With everything from cleanings and checkups to dental implants, St. Vital Dental's got you covered for patients from 6 months to 99 plus. Hit them up online, stvitaldental.ca, for more information and to make an appointment, and pop in and tell Dr. Terry that Hassan Remo sent you. All right, let's head out to the Hockey for All Center and check up with Connor Hrabchak, who was there bright and early today. Connor, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing well, Huss. I'm doing well. I'm fired up. It's the eve of another Winnipeg Super Sports Saturday, Huss. Now, it's not quite the Jets looking to go 15-1 and the Bombers in the West Final, but Bombers, TiCats, and then Jets preseason game down at Canada Life Center. So I'm fired up for tomorrow.
Was that the game last year? Was it the 15-1 game before?
Against Dallas to secure the best start in NHL history and then the West Final. It was an awesome day.
That truly is, I mean, an all-time doubleheader day.
All-timer.
And listen, we're just sort of warming up for, what's to come, with hockey season. Exactly. But, of course, with the Bombers, huge Bomber game tomorrow at 2 p.m. at Princess Auto Stadium. We'll spend a lot of time talking about that a little later on when Jeff Hamilton jumps on the program. For the Jets, though, a very busy weekend coming up. A couple of exhibition games. And, of course, with it being preseason, not like normal road trips. Game day skate this morning, and then on the bird to play tonight in Edmonton for the group. And everyone accounted for, with the exception of Elias Salmonson, unfortunately.
Yeah, so this came as a bit of a surprise. We got here for the morning skate, as you said, before the players left for Edmonton. And Elias Salomonsson wasn't out there. And Ashton Sautner was slated to be in the game group, but not necessarily traveling with the team. But since he was in the game group, He's going to fill in for Salamonson. We asked Arniel after the skate, and Elias is sick. So he's not going to be playing in tonight's game. We'll see if they find a way to maybe get him into tomorrow's game if he's feeling better. But Salamonson is one of the few players that has played in both games so far in the preseason. So looking to get him another game, but unfortunately that won't come tonight. Another injury update that we got was on Kieran Walton. He unfortunately has not passed his last test to clear concussion protocol, so he has been on the ice, or maybe he hasn't. I haven't really got the exact wording from Arniel correct on that, but he hasn't passed his last test, still in protocol, still waiting to join the team in full at training camp in clear protocol.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because we were really looking forward to seeing Kieran hopefully get some preseason action. Certainly acquitted himself well at the rookie tourney, but just has not been able to go. And it always seems like there's one player that, has some bad luck around the start of the season. I guess, the positive, if there is one, I mean, Kieran was scheduled to go back to junior regardless, but, a missed opportunity for him right now. And you just hope that the young man is able to go right, sooner as opposed to later. And, this doesn't impact his season overall at the junior level. As far as the lineup goes tonight, we're really going to get a chance to see what is expected to be the Jets' third and fourth lines. And they won't be going up against McDavid or Draisaitl or Nuge, which kind of would have been, a nice challenge for some of these guys because that some of those assignments will come to lines in the bottom six. But I'm quite interested in the third line. Danny Gilkins had a real strong camp. He's in the middle with Brad Lambert and, of course, Colby Barlow, who, for my money, we've talked about him all week, especially coming out of the last preseason game, maybe of all the young players, has done the most to, maybe resuscitate the conversation around him and maybe boost his stock in the eyes of the organization, coming in much leaner, much quicker, and being very impactful when he's been on the ice, Connor.
Yeah, 100%. And if Colby Barlow goes out and has another strong game tonight, scores another goal or something like that, the hype train is going to be full steam ahead because this guy's had a great camp, former first-round pick, much leaner this year, much quicker, he said he feels much stronger. I know it's best shape of everyone's life season, but Colby Barlow looks the part. And in that game the other night against the Edmonton Oilers at home, Colby Barlow, I thought, was the most impactful forward for the Winnipeg Jets. And you pair him with a guy like Danny Gilkin, who's on an incredible hot streak of his own, dating all the way back to the Prospect Showdown, some of the preseason games he scored in the first preseason game of the season for the Jets as well. So I'm excited to see that kid line as well. And Scott Arniel noted to us that the Nemestikov line is the only line of their, projected opening night roster or what we believe to be the opening night roster that hasn't played a game yet. So Niederreiter and Iafallo on the wings of Vlad Nemestikov, obviously filling in for Adam Lowry in that spot to start the season. I'm interested to see what the chemistry looks like for those guys. Those are players that have been on the Winnipeg Jets for multiple seasons now, but not necessarily playing with one another. Vlad Nemestikov has played with Iafallo at times on the second line. Niederreiter has played with Iafallo at times. They've all played with kind of two of each other at separate times on different lines, but the three of them together, really interested to see how they can gel and develop some chemistry here in the preseason.
So, Connor, that was the game group tonight that'll be in action. Most of the big boys were in the second group. Top two lines, top 4D. Connor Hellebuck fill us in on the second session today out of the Hockey for All Center for a more veteran-laden part of the group.
Yeah, you nailed it. This is the group that's going to be playing tomorrow night, 7 o'clock at Canada Life Center. The top line, all slated to be in: Connor, Scheifele, Velarde. The second line that we saw on Tuesday night, Taves, winged by Nyquist and Perfetti. So that'll be another thing. How can that line develop chemistry from one game to another? A few prospects in that group as well, Braden Yeager. And we'll see if Elias Salamonson, if he's feeling any better, if they maybe make a tweak to the defense core and try and get him into another game. But as it's slated right now, Morrissey, DeMello, Sandberg, Pionk, the entire top four slated to play, as well as Luke Shen, Colin Miller. These are veterans that are in that group as well. So we'll see if Elias Salamonson maybe they force him back into a game if he is feeling better to get him one final game before sending him down to the Moose, which we presume will happen. But as for, Connor Hellebuck is slated to get the start and maybe see the full game, maybe half of it. The top six is slated to play the top four. It's starting to look a lot more like the Winnipeg Jets opening night roster. And this is actually Saturday night, their last home preseason game. They'll have 2 more after that, but both of them are on the road. One is in Mini, and then the last one of the season, or of the preseason, I should say, is in Calgary. So I'm not sure if they're going to go full dress rehearsal for one of those road games, or if this is as close as we're going to see in the preseason with Saturday with the top 6 and the top 4 playing. But expect all the big boys in the lineup tomorrow night, like you said, Huss.
I wouldn't be surprised if that final game is as close to a dress rehearsal as we'll see through the preseason, because there is a bit of a break in between that final preseason game and the Jets getting going with the season. So, if you're playing these guys tonight, or tomorrow night, as it were, probably one more game for the majority of them would be where they want. Certainly Jonathan Toews said that he was hoping to be in potentially 4 of the preseason games. So we'll see whether he does 4 or just ends up playing 3. That being said, Connor, great stuff. Looking forward to it. Quick thoughts on Bomber game tomorrow night. I know you'll be there looking to see if Zach can resuscitate the Bombers' passing offense, but they can continue doing a bunch of the things that have done quite well to get them out of that losing streak. And, of course, snap it last week with the strong defensive performance, special teams that went into the very bizarre win in Ottawa.
Yeah, Huss, I'm just going to be staring at the goalpost for 3 hours tomorrow. I don't even care what happens in the game. Just, pouring one out. Staring at the 55-yard line in the goalpost. That's my plan for tomorrow. No, I'm kidding, of course. Zach Collaros back in the lineup. That's obviously a good sign. You can bet on the Bombers having more than 3 passing completions tomorrow, which I think is a win for all of us. Not just, the Bombers and their chances of winning, but just the entertainment value of a football game. So I'm excited for that. Jarrett Stern's back, as well as Carrick Wheat falls out of the lineup after taking that hard hit. Stern's back. He's had a great season so far, was really coming along in each and every single game. So I'm excited. I weirdly, at 7-7 and how ugly this season has been so far for the Bombers, I have high hopes going into tomorrow. Home crowd, sold out. I think the Bombers are going to bring it, and hoping for a win in part 1 of the doubleheader. Like I said, not quite as high stakes as what we had last year, but Bomber game, Jets game, I'll be going to both, and I can't wait.
Yeah, and I will tell you, as someone that has done a number of these doubleheaders before, with the game starting at the stadium, highly recommend either find yourself a way there or take the rapid transit and then just head up behind, get on the blue line. It'll take you right downtown. You can grab a couple in the break in between games and then head on in for the 7 o'clock puck drop tomorrow night at Canada Life Center. Connor, have yourself a great weekend. Great hit as always. And you tee people up on what's coming. You guys will have a busy and lots to talk about on WST Sunday morning live after 2 preseason games, and of course the Bombers tomorrow as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a jam-packed show on Sunday mornings. Sunday at 9, I'm joined by Liz Hood. We break down everything to do with the Winnipeg Jets. I'm sure we'll touch on the Bombers as well, given that they do play the day before. And we'll preview kind of the final week of preseason as well, what to expect from the Winnipeg Jets. Maybe we'll have some roster cuts out by then. I'm not expecting it. I think Sunday is going to be the day where you see a trimming of the herd, as Scott Arniel put it. He didn't give us an exact day, but I do think that over the weekend we're going to get some roster cuts as well. So Liz and I will talk about that. Join us 9 a.m. And then I do know next week we've teased this video a few times on Sunday Live, but we did sort of an intro to analytics video. A lot of people ask us, what certain analytics mean, how they're tracked, how we read them. We made a video. It's roughly 40 minutes. It'll be coming out next week, I believe next Tuesday. So stay glued for that. Intro to analytics. If you're someone who's wanted to learn more about analytics, how to use them, how to find them, we tried to cover all the basics in that video. So that's coming out next week as well. But before that, Sunday morning, 9 a.m., join us then.
Just a content machine is Connor. And of course, Monday morning with Schnitzy, the WST Bomber Report as well. So it is going to be packed. Great stuff, buddy. Thanks for doing this, and we'll catch you at the ballpark tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
Good stuff. That video, just a quick heads up on next week. Of course, Tuesday is Truth and Reconciliation Day. So we'll be recognizing that. We won't have the regular live show, but what we will do is record CFL 110. I think we'll likely have that premiere at 1 o'clock at the normal time. We'll probably do an expanded show. There's still so much fallout coming out of this past week that Hammer and I will get to. We may include, for people that missed it, the Stuart Johnson interview. And then on Tuesday as well, following that, we will have the analytics primer from Connor and Liss, which I'm sure will be very helpful and very informative, and certainly be a real fun watch for hockey fans. So all of that coming up next week on Winnipeg Sports Talk on a very, very busy week. Despite the holiday on Tuesday, we will have some content that we'll have canned and ready for you on that day. I want to bring Remis in here for a minute. We got Brandon Rewucki coming up in about 5. Let's do that right now. Remo, a couple other quick Jets notes. The TSN released their old top 50 list. And I have to tell you, a very nice showing for Winnipeg Jet players on that list, with 4, am I not mistaken, 4 in the top 33 in the National Hockey League? I mean, by the odds, by numbers, the 32 teams, you'd have 1 player in that top 32 and, maybe have 2 in the top 50. For the Jets to have 4, I think speaks to the eyes that were opened about what's going on here in Winnipeg last year.
Yeah, Connor Hellebuyck leading the way at number 9 on TSN's top 50. Kyle Connor at number 22. He was number 47 last year, and Connor Hellebuyck jumping up from 22 to 9. The other ones on this list, Mark Scheifele was not on the list at all last year. It is now number 31. And Josh Morrissey goes from 44 to 33. And I think for everyone out there who thinks, the Winnipeg Jets, not a good team, they're just carried by the Vezina MVP goaltender. I think you look at lists around the league, and the Jets have a number of top-end players like Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Josh Morrissey. And maybe there's some other players who could vault in the rankings and have a bit of a breakout this year. But impressive showing from the Winnipeg Jets. 4 players on the top 50, all of them below number 33.
Yeah, you can check that all out over at tsn.ca. Some hockey news, non-Jet related, but kind of earth-shattering news. The Florida Panthers are worried that they are going to be without their captain and number 1 center, Sasha Barkov, for the entire season, Reem. Apparently, he was injured in practice earlier this week, and while nothing is official, Elliot Friedman reporting that there is grave concern that Barkov could be out for the entire year, which would be absolutely devastating to a team chasing history, looking for a three-peat. I mean, listen, they're a stacked team. I mean, you've got Matthew Tkachuk, and you've added Marchand, and we know about the incredible blue line, Sam Reinhart and Bennett. But make no mistake about it, Barkov is the straw that stirs the drink, and this could be a disaster. This is from Elliot. Going to know more in the next 24 to 48 hours, but the Panthers are bracing for the possibility their captain Barkov could be lost for this season. Would be brutal. No one wants to see that, but unfortunately was a bad injury. And for those of you that are wondering, oh my God, what does this mean? He's going to be out for the regular season and come back for the playoffs. This again, remember, things changed. The rules have changed this year. This is from Puckpedia. This is the situation on Barkov. If he might return this year, the Panthers can exceed the cap by up to $3.8 million for his injury. If he's medically declared out for the full regular season and playoffs, they can exceed the cap by his full $10 million, and then he's ineligible to play this season or the playoffs. So it won't be the way that it has been before. And this is serious. And as I said, Remis, there's not one player, in my opinion, that would be a bigger blow to the Panthers' three-peat chances than to lose their captain, Sasha Barkov, for the full year.
100%, top center, plays power play, Selke winner. Someone said in chat, I guess someone else will have to win the Selke this year. The guy who is going to step up for them right now, Anton Lundell, he's played, third line, very, very good, but tough task replacing Barkov. And yeah, that was the number one joke after the injury went down. They'll just put him on LTIR, bring him back for the playoffs. I don't know, acquire Sidney Crosby or someone else at center, be over the cap all year. But no, they expedited that new rule that's going to be in the CBA. No more. There is a cap now in the playoffs, so you can't do that. But however, if he's out for the whole year, they do get that room available now. And maybe they do go out, although they don't really have a lot of draft capital. So I'm not sure what they look to trade. That's a huge, huge blow to them. Massive.
Yeah,
so
it is. So again, and there was people, is this just an LTIR scam? That's not the case anymore. They are, as I said, $3.8 million if he can return at some point. If they use the full $10 million, that'll be because he's been deemed out for the season and the playoffs and will not be eligible to return. I'm going to check in with our pal, Brandon Rewucki, in just a moment. Again, we mentioned big game tomorrow, Bombers, TiCats, Princess Auto Stadium, 2 p.m. Of course, Princess Auto Stadium and Princess Auto is proud sponsors of the Bombers and their home, and Winnipeg Sports Talk. And of course, Princess Auto is also founded and headquartered right here in Winnipeg and now coast to coast, but with 3 Manitoba locations to serve you: Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, and of course, out west in Brandon. And Princess Auto is where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. So pop by and see them in store this weekend or shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. I know Donnie and the gang are ready, and Manitoba Battery ready for the weekend. Huge Bomber fans, Jet fans as well. So with the doubleheader, they'll be busy, but they'll also be there to serve Winnipeggers with the best deals on batteries, period, and the best prices around. Manitoba Batteries, your local option to save big money against the big box stores when you're buying batteries. Shopping local with, of course, the best customer service around, because Manitoba Battery will deliver those batteries to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter with any purchase over $60. It's just that easy. Like Donnie says, wake up Winnipeg and stop overpaying for batteries at the big box stores. Shop local and get the best deals in town at Manitoba Battery. 2 locations to serve you. Order online today at manitobabattery.com. And hey, speaking of that Bomber game tomorrow, I hope they load it up on the Canadian Club, because Bomber fans are notoriously thirsty. And Canadian Club is the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Available throughout the stadium tomorrow. You can also pick up the great taste of Canadian Club and ginger ale in cans at Bomber games. And for a limited time, the Blue Bomber label Canadian Club bottles available at your local Manitoba liquor marts. The great team of your Winnipeg Blue Bombers and Canada's original Canadian whiskey since 1858. Pick it up while supplies last at your local Manitoba liquor marts. And don't forget to maybe grab one of those Canadian Club packs too, with the CC and ginger, along with the citrus smash and half and half. Been an amazing compliment to the summer for many CC enjoyers. All right, let's get Rewucki in to join the program. Brandon joins us. Of course, you can check out Skates and Plates wherever you get your favorite pods. Rew, what's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. It's a hard day of working and definitely not watching golf all morning and afternoon. So dude, we got that, and then Winefest tonight. So I'm in a good headspace right now.
Oh, Winefest. Yes, of course. Winefest. What an event that is. I'm not going to get into any Winefest takes right now. It could get me in trouble. Very quickly, let's talk Ryder Cup for just a second. What a start for the Euros this morning. I mean, Bryson had the big drive on 1. I actually got up at 6 a.m. to see it. Having been to a couple of Ryder Cups, the energy of the start of the event is so incredible. And listen, Bethpage brought it. Bryson brought it. And after all the cheering on the first hole, the Europeans went out and dusted the United States, running away with the first 3 matches. And were it not for Schauffele and Cantlay hanging on for a point in that final match, this one could have been uglier. But Luke Donald got to be real happy about the way things have started as they look to do what is one of the hardest things in the sport, and that's to win the Ryder Cup on the road.
Yeah, and it's funny, too, because what Keegan did was exactly what I was telling everybody before the Cup started, is just put Bryson out there on hole 1 and be like, big man, swing away, because it's going to get somewhere by the green, and the crowd's going to go nuts and try to make a statement there. And I thought if he did that they would really ride off the emotion. And it was just so insane that it was a complete demolition derby. But if the Americans do end up winning, they're going to thank Xander Schauffele on those last couple of holes, because it's 1 point, but it's a totally different story, I think, going into the second set of matches there, down 4-love or just trailing 3-1, knowing you can pretty easily get right back into it by the time Saturday rolls around. And the Americans are playing good now. The Euros can make a putt, so it's going to be a tight one, man. I think it's going to come pretty close to down to the wire here. But I think there's a lot more on the Euro plates to have at least a split of the matchups going on right now than it is for the Americans. Because if they just kind of allow them to get back into it, it might be a tough hill to climb. But we all just want Rory and Bryson come Sunday with some level of stakes at it. So if we can just get that, I think everyone's happy.
Rory Bryson, a Scheffler-Rahm rematch. I mean, listen, I'm here for. I was pulling for the Euros. I bet the Euros. So I mean, it was a dream start this morning. 3-1. JT was with Bryson. They got thumped by John Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton. And Ludwig Goldberg, Matty Fitz, Rory, Tommy Fleetwood all played brilliantly in the alternate shot. It's the 4 balls right now. We'll do a Breezy Bend update a little later on in the program today, but there's 2 red flags up for the U.S. There's 1 Europe, and one of the matches is tied right now moving forward. Let's head over to the Jets for a minute. Busy weekend, busy next 48 hours for the club. You've got a younger lineup led by the veterans, the 3rd and 4th line playing tonight. And tomorrow, Brandon, our first chance to really get to see the full top 6 together, the top 4 defense together, and in all likelihood, Connor Hellebuyck getting into the net.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's pretty much the same team as last year, but the big change is a complete, reversal of what we saw last year. And I mean, that's kind of what preseason's all about for me when it comes to the Jets this year. It's like, how's Taves doing? How's the second line doing? Because there's not really much, like, what else are we going to kind of take from it? Like, the top line could either put up 4 points or look sloppy in the next game, and it doesn't really tell us anything because we know, especially going off last year, that when they're together, they're going to be just fine there. But to me, it's been all about how the second line and specifically how Taves has looked. I think it's been pretty close to a smashing success, man. Like, you're not going to find out if he's going to put up like 50 points this year or anything like that. But to me, and I've said this talking with you leading up to seeing actual hockey for Winnipeg, that I think you'll get a good idea early on in preseason by the time the first game rolls around, whether he's got it still or he's washed. And I think we can say he's not washed. That's a pretty big, like, it sounds goofy to say, but that's a pretty big development for the team because they put basically all their eggs into the Taves basket to some degree. And so I thought he looked pretty good. Like, he's still there's a lack of foot speed. That's undeniable, also expected. But I thought just as far as him keeping up with the pace of play, he didn't look out of place.
And just on the speed thing, I mean, I'm sort of with you. I mean, I think that'll come around. But when he really needed to, he tracked down Max Jones on what was basically a breakaway, which was a great defensive play. And like, I was with you. I mean, like, I didn't want to have these crazy expectations for the first preseason game. Yeah. But, I mean, the puck was on his stick quite a bit. He was very effective checking down low. Obviously good in the faceoff circle. And that line, and again, we got to keep in mind who they're playing against and everything, but it was their first time out, and Gustav Nyquist had a couple great scoring chances. Perfetti was involved. And I mean, I left that game with a lot of optimism. It certainly seemed, and I mean, the hands were still there, made some great passes. So, I mean, this is a journey. I mean, Elliot Friedman said, I'm going to be buying Jonathan Taves from game 40 to 80, a lot more than game 1 to 40. But I'll tell you what, just for the first look in preseason action, this looked like a guy that absolutely still has it, can still play, can still keep up, and can offer a lot to the Winnipeg Jets this season.
Yeah. Like it's you checked off, I think, the most important boxes so far, which is like, can he keep up And does he still have elements of the guy that he was 5-6 years ago? And the answers are yes. So those were basically the first steps you needed to kind of slowly invest yourself more and more into what potentially could be like a Cinderella type story here. So I think it's extremely positive. Then the next thing we need to see, and this is something we won't find out for at least a month or so, is, it looks like he can handle the pace of play. But how is he going to handle and how is his body going to respond, say, 3 games in 4 nights? Or once you get into the end of the first month and you've got a little wear and tear on the body. Like that's the next step. We don't know because it hasn't happened yet. We won't find out for quite some time. But I think you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody that isn't a little more optimistic about the bet the Jets made on Taves. The one caveat I would say, and I agree with you, I think Nyquist did look good on that line. Perfetti might be taking another bit of a leap here. There are valid concerns about the foot speed of that line because Perfetti he's not a burner. Taves is not the guy he was. And even when Taves at his peak, he wasn't a burner necessarily. And I think that applies to Nyquist as well. So tell you what, Nick Ehlers on that line would get me really, really excited about the team's chances this year. But I do wonder come, closer to the trade deadline, if some kind of an impact winger that's got a decent amount of foot speed and dynamism in his play might not be like the final puzzle piece to what the Jets have up front right now.
Yeah, they won't be blowing lines away with speed, but they'll be able to do a lot. And listen, the ability to have the puck with him in the faceoff circle was hilarious. He was 11 of 20 and was like, I wasn't good at all tonight. So, you know what?
That's the best they've ever seen in Winnipeg.
That's the standard for Jonathan Taves. Definitely here for it. How big of a blow is this in your mind to the Florida Panthers if Barkov is out for the entire regular season and playoffs?
I mean, one of the top 10 players in hockey. So it's beyond, like, this is disastrous for Florida. It's funny, before the injury, I was kind of thinking to myself, what might be the biggest impediment to Florida winning the Cup this year is them missing the playoffs. It's like if they get in, the best chance of them avoiding the three-peat might be them to just not qualify for it. This would fall into that sort of a mindset there. I mean, and you add on to the fact that Hrabchak is going to be out for half the season in all likelihood. And again, even when guys come back, it's not like, I missed 30, 40 games and then I'm a 100-point player again. It's a pretty massive surgery. There's a chance that Matt Hrabchak isn't anywhere near the impact player that he is going into the second half of the season. You could make a very, I don't know if I'll go this far yet. You could make a very valid case that Florida can't even contemplate three-peating right now, but that at this point it's basically, we got to grab a wild card spot in the East because there's 2 good divisions, there's 2 awful divisions in hockey. Florida's in one of the good ones, and it's going to be a bit of a battle for them now, I think, to find a way to get through. But then you also wonder if maybe this adds to the resolve and focus that they can throw in here, knowing hey, we can't take games off now because we don't have the safety net of 20 minutes a night of one of the 4 or 5 best forwards on the planet dusting the opposition every single time we hit the ice.
Hey, you know what? It's funny. I just looked this up while you mentioned it. I'm pulling up at Coolbet. Panthers 4-1 to miss the playoffs. Listen, they should make it, but for a team that has played so much hockey over the last 2 seasons, that's going to be without Hrabchak for that long, and if Barkov's out for the entire year, and Remis made a great point, they have been so aggressive the last couple years, they don't have a lot of picks to trade. I mean, they're in a very difficult situation if they did want to make a big ad to go in and replace Barkov. So maybe we'll just have a little fun wager on that. Throw 20 on it, and we can follow the Panthers versus the playoff line all season long.
I think a lot of Bud Lights and the were tossed back into the fridge pretty quickly after the boys in Florida found out okay, we got to take this really, really seriously now. to try to get back into the dance.
They do have 2 second-rounders this year, but don't have a first-round pick until 28. So they've already gone to that well a few times, and we'll see what's going on. Hey, quickly, I guess I didn't talk to you last week. Well done on the Eagles win in Kansas City. That was not an A performance by the Eagles, though. I mean, obviously the Chiefs aren't where they expected to be. But, man, that second half, it was the ugliest and the baddest beat in gambling history if you had Rams plus 3.5. I mean, I will never get over it. But just quickly a thought, I'm really intrigued by this Philly-Tampa game this week. Philly's 3.5-point favorites on the road in Tampa. Tampa's been the one team that has really been a bit of kryptonite for Philly in the past. And Baker's playing well. He's been big-time fourth quarter player. Listen, they're great at 3-0. They had their near miss last week. What do you think about this Tampa-Philly game on the weekend?
Well, going to be tough because the NFL has now banned blocking field goal kicks because the Eagles are too good at that too. So,
well, are they offside on every one of those field goal kicks?
Hey, if we want to go and look at offsides, we could do that on every single play. It's funny how the player safety angle was that was the whole impetus behind the tush push being banned is now out the window, and now it's actually they're offside every.
Well, it's all that too. Hey, do you agree that the Kansas City game? Like, remember, okay, it's the Collinsworth treatment, basically. Like, Jawan Taylor in that opener 2 years ago was flying up. He was losing his mind about it, and then they basically made him he had a target on his back the rest of the season, most penalized player in the league. I wasn't one of the guys that say, hey, you have to ban the tush push. I mean, I guess I understand kind of the rugby scrum nature of it. I mean, people want to make that player safety thing argument. I guess I'm here for it. But the bottom line was the vote to ban it was 22-10. They were 2 votes short. I kind of left, like I was in Kansas City. I spent Monday kind of kicking around. I wasn't doing the show. I watched a lot of the shows. Everybody was talking about it. Everyone was showing all these plays where they're going early. To me, I think they found the 2 votes to get to 24 in week 2 at Arrowhead.
Well, they got more than 2 votes. I mean, so it's not going to happen next year. I just think it's funny. Like, you could, if you want to do a zoom in on every single snap in the NFL season during any game, guess what? You'll probably find a few guys that jump offside on both sides of
How
the
about
ball.
4 at the same time?
Philly. Well, they were off. I mean, they were false starts. I'm not saying they weren't, right? Like, it's like, well, why are you blaming the Eagles? The refs should call the penalties. Well, it's too hard to officiate. We'll get better refs. It's literally you have one guy designed to watch the line of scrimmage. Regardless of that, though, I think the Bucs-Eagles line is borderline insane. You're right that Tampa Bay's had their number for years and years. And I honestly think they are the biggest threat to the Eagles in the NFC. And I mean, I get they lost Mike Evans. Obviously, that's a big blow. Maybe they get Chris Godwin back this week. But Todd Bowles knows how to play the Eagles offense. Like he's a heavy blitzer. And that's what Kansas City did as well against the Eagles. And Jalen Hurts and the new offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo and company, didn't have much of an answer for it. So I would not be shocked at all to see the Bucs walk away with this one. They not only have they beaten the Eagles, they've kind of routed them every time they go up against each other. So it's a massive test, but you're right in that, boy, did they ever get, I mean, just complete fluke job win there where they found a way to turn it around in the second half and two blocked field goals.
Hey, at least they found their passing game. I mean, that was the one thing that was basically non-existent for the first 10 quarters of the season. And, they needed it. They fired it up, and credit to them. I mean, they don't have to apologize for anything. They got it done. But man, those special teams meetings in LA must have been interesting for the Rams this week. Hey, what's cooking over at Skates and Plates now that the boys of winter are back?
Yeah, we got hockey to talk, so that's nice for a change. And then
more skates, less plates now.
Yeah, well, we've actually been doing a best of plates series for each episode. So basically picking like a food item and then giving our take on the best of that we've had in the city or in the province so far. So that's been a little fun. But I think coming up this week we'll do our bold predictions episode, which is always a super fun one. And it's actually bold, not like, Connor Hellebuck will win 40 games this year. It's like You'll see when the episode comes out. But that'll be a fun one. And I mean, look, we're less than 2 weeks away from the season starting, so this is the fun time of the year to get behind the mic and turn on the TV as well.
Looking forward to it, pal. Thanks again for doing this. Have a great weekend. I mean, listen, between the Ryder Cup, Bomber game tomorrow, 2 Jet games, full NFL slate with some great matchups on Sunday. This will be a top 5 sports weekend of the year, I think, and that isn't a bold take at all. I mean, I think we could probably even shorten that number a little bit more. Have a great weekend, pal. Thanks for doing this.
Sounds good. Have a good one, guys. We'll talk soon.
All right, good stuff. All right, the poker aficionado / Winnipeg Free Press's Jeff Hamilton is going to join us coming up in just a few minutes. Give you a quick Breezy Bend golf update for the Ryder Cup right now as the 4 balls continue. 2-2 in the afternoon sessions right now. John Rahm and Sepp Straka are up 2 on Scotty Scheffler and JJ Spawn after 9. Bryson DeChambeau and Ben Griffin are up 1 on Tommy Fleetwood and Justin Rose after 8. Cam Young and JT Justin Thomas are up 2 on Aberg and Højgaard after 7. And Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry have just taken the lead over Burns and Cantlay. So Europe 3-1 right now in the Ryder Cup, and 2-2 currently, just finishing up the front 9 in the day 1 4 balls competition. Of course, our Breezy Bend golf reports all year long, brought to you by our friends at Breezy Bend. If you are thinking about an amazing long-term home for you and your family at one of Winnipeg's top private courses, check out Breezy Bend. You can give Corey Johnson, our pal, the GM, a call at 895-7205, or find out more information on membership for next year. And get in now for 2026 at breezybend.ca. Hey, folks, if you need to up your menswear game as we get into fall and winter, there's only one place to do that. That, of course, is popping by and seeing our pals at F Apparel at 190 Smith Street downtown. They've been the leaders in custom suits and clothing for men for over 15 years and have a beautifully new remodeled showroom waiting for you right downtown, a slap shot away from the arena. Custom suits starting at $400, along with chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, and both tucked and untucked styles, and the biggest and best selection of menswear accessories around. Check them out online at that's EPH Apparel for more information on some great deals, including a special for wedding parties when they get their suits for the big day. And of course, you can also book an appointment online to come in for a fitting at fapparel.com. And quick reminder, gang, the Assiniboia Downs season is not done yet. Normally we'd be finished for the year, but with the extended season and some pretty nice weather, a couple more weeks of live racing out at the track. So you can make your plans for next Tuesday and Wednesday, as well as the following week. The live racing season not over yet in Winnipeg. I'll be heading out there, I think, on Wednesday. Really looking forward to that. If you haven't already tried it, try to get a reservation in that clubhouse dining room for the amazing prime rib buffet, and a great spot where you can bet right from your table and watch all the action of Assiniboia Downs. Free parking, free admission for every night of live racing. Back to the post on Tuesday for more Assiniboia Downs live racing. Find out more on everything going on Assiniboia Downs at asdowns.com. All right, we got Bombers to talk about, more fallout from Monday with the Canadian Football League announcements. A very sad news in Edmonton, but I'm sure before we dive into too much CFL talk, there is a much-deserved victory lap for our next guest, Jeff Hamilton, coming off running the table again at the WST poker tourney on Wednesday night. At a certain point, you just have to tip your cap. Hammer, congratulations. You come back to the program after bouncing Remis and winning again. What a victory.
What a week, my friend. What a week. It was, I know how hard you guys tried to prevent me from coming on. I had to hear about it on the show. I had to invite myself on the show. There's a small hiccup trying to get into the tournament, but once I got into the tournament, Hustler, it was smooth sailing from there. I'm kidding. It really was smooth sailing from there. That part's not the joking part. I just, like anyone who wins a poker tournament, got the cards and played the table. Look, man, I didn't show up there looking to make friends, and I didn't make any. I was standing there with my group, my circle at the end of the tournament, all by myself at that table. Took a quick picture of it before it got off the screen. And what do kids say, Huss? I was simply standing on business, and I took care of it.
You stood on
it
business.
Is funny though.
You stood on Remis's business.
Yeah, you did tease it yesterday. I mean, there's got to be a bounty on my head the next time we get in on these tournaments.
That's already confirmed. $100. Also, if you're the first person, I guess, to eliminate short side snipe 9 at the next WST poker tournament, you'll get another 100 in your account. Pat,
hey, careful! I heard you name that name a couple different times already. That short side snipe, Huss, and I don't want to. I don't know if there's any goalies that I used to play against in hockey. Listening to this show, I don't want you to be given any PTSD here, because that used to be my move. It used to be I only needed a nickel size to put a dime through it, so it's good.
Just for the folks that want to mark this down. Your next chance, I've got it circled on my calendar. Our next chance to get a hammer, the next WST poker tourney is going to be October 22nd. We'll do it at 8 p.m. again over on Coolbet. And other dates for the poker tourneys, like through 2025, October 22, Wednesday, November 19th, and Wednesday, December the 10th. So mark those down. And if you haven't joined us before,
start adding those to my Excel sheets. My budgets every month. And my budgets every month. Just to spend that money already.
I knew this was going to go this way.
Add a new budget line to my to my Excel sheet. Okay, perfect. Thanks for the date. I'll be there.
Hey, just getting down to the Canadian Football League. I mean, just before we talk Bombers and stuff, I mean, real sad news out of Edmonton. The passing of Larry Thompson, and he made a pretty big impact very quickly. They needed new ownership. They needed someone that, was dedicated to the market, the team. I told this story earlier, but in case you missed it, I mean, when he was announced that the owner, the Edmonton Sports Talk guys were there, and he was sort of walking around, and before he met the media, they sort of corralled him in, and they were talking to him a little bit, and he was so excited. This is Dusty was telling the story yesterday. He was so excited to have the team and to be able to sort of give back and take this thing forward. And the thing that really stood out to me was as he was talking to them, he said, he points, you see that right there, guys? That's my seat. That's been my seat forever since the 19, whatever. And I just thought it was so cool that a guy that grew up as a passionate fan had taken over. And it really felt, at least from the outside looking in, that they were making some really good progress. The team's more competitive. They might not be a playoff team, but I think people believe in them. They've been getting some more asses in seats. They're going to push $30K for this game against the Riders on the weekend. And just really sad news for the Canadian Football League, but especially that market in Edmonton. But I guess it does sound like, his family will try to continue his legacy with the team moving forward.
Yeah, that's the word behind it. I mean, I saw that as... Sorry, I never met Larry. I don't know, I've never had a chance to shake hands or I haven't been in Edmonton since he took over the team. Haven't spoken to him, so I don't know much about him. His wife's name is I read it a couple times, I forget, but anyway, she's quoted as saying that she's going to continue his vision and commitment to the team, which, obviously when these things happen, you're not, that question comes to mind. Well, the owner, especially in this situation, an owner who had taken over so recently, what does the future look like, right? I mean, that's just a natural curiosity. So to hear that, right away, I think if you didn't hear that right away, I think you'd kind of have your answer, maybe. In this case, you clearly have the answer that they're going to continue on. And so that's great that while Larry won't be able to see what he started, hopefully what he envisioned comes to fruition. I mean, obviously there's no great timing for these kind of things, but it's hard not to look at the timing in this situation. In the same week, obviously a lot of CFL news was, CFL was dominating the headlines with the rule changes, and then to kind of have this added on top seemed like, obviously a busy week for the league. Yeah, like I said before, I never got a chance to meet the man. I do think, it was better days were ahead in Edmonton. I still believe better days are still ahead in Edmonton here. But there was, Larry was really just that part of ownership in recent years, whether it's Amar Doman in BC, as well as, some other owners, of course, that have really strengthened the league and made it viable, if you will, and so obviously Mr. Thompson was a big part of that, and it will be sad not to have him be able to see it through. And I send out my condolences to the Elks organization, to his family, friends, the fans in general, for what is obviously not a great time right now for the organization.
Gang, if you missed the CFL 110 earlier this week, you'll want to check that out. Certainly our most extensive and longest show that we've ever done, coming right off the heels of Stuart Johnson's announcement. Of course, Stuart Johnson joined me yesterday on the program for an extended conversation. Check yesterday's show out for that. But Hammer, you're knee-deep in the CFL circles, with the Pro Football Supporters of Canada and all that. I know you've had a lot of conversations this week. We're 4 days removed from Monday's announcement. What have those chats been like with folks around the league, and what are you hearing? And now that the dust has settled a little bit, what's the takeaways from what we heard, where we're going, and how it is being reacted to in all CFL circles?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's been kind of all over the place a little bit, right? And I think it really depends, especially when you think of a platform like Twitter or X, right? When it creates an environment, brings everybody close. So everybody who's having these conversations about the rule changes. We all know, I'm sure there's plenty of people in the middle, but there's a lot of people who really like the changes, right? Who have wanted to see these changes for a long time. And then there's, of course, I call them traditionalists because they're the ones who don't want things to change, right? They want the traditions to come through. And so there's obviously a big vocal side who hates these changes and can't believe they're happening and are taking steps to try to prevent them from happening. And the reality is, we live in Winnipeg, right? So people care about the Canadian Football League here, and it's really interesting to see the different perspectives, if you're waking up in Vancouver or Toronto every morning, you're looking at these changes, whether you're an Argos or a Lions fan, and you might see them in a different way. If you're a hardcore one of those fans, maybe you're saying, this is ridiculous. I've been watching this league for 50 years. I don't want to see it. But maybe you see it as, okay, I've been going to games for the last 10, 15, 20 years, the attendance hasn't been great. The product's been enjoyable, but they haven't been getting the seat tickets, right? So you understand the changes. Well, if you wake up in Winnipeg and you're, whether you're a fair weather fan of the CFL or you're a hardcore Bomber fan, I'm not saying there aren't people here and in Saskatchewan, the two, I would say the two areas that are probably are creating the biggest pushback. I'm not saying that there aren't people in those provinces who agree with these rules. There's lots of people who agree with these changes, even those who are, big time supporters of the CFL. But there's a massive group who doesn't want to have anything to do with this, right? Who has, my inbox, certainly the vocal majority are people who don't want to see these rules change. And of course, the number one fear in all this, Huss, is Americanization, right? Which for the league is really horrible timing, because it's Americanization would have mattered. It matters now. It mattered a year ago. It mattered 5 years ago. It mattered 10 years ago, so on and so forth. But the perfect storm of anti-American sentiment, which was happening down south, and just, the travel being really affected. Nobody really wants to go to the U.S. It's really, an unsettled position between our two countries as we go through trade wars and other different things, right? So they never mentioned Americanization, which makes sense, right? It makes sense that you're not talking about wanting to have, extend this audience, a broader audience into the U.S. I think you have to be, if you want to be a successful business, sporting organization business in 2025, you need a bigger country than Canada. And so I do think that it makes sense to want to appeal to an American audience. Now, we can go in and debate here on whether that's going to work. That's not the point, right? Something needs to give here. I think what was missing in the messaging was saying that you're interested in an American audience but are dedicated to keeping a Canadian identity. Because you look at some of the changes here, it's pretty obvious, Huss. They're all the 2026 rules that are coming in next season, obviously, that are, the 35-second clock, the amended Rouge. Those are things that are aesthetically disturbing to American viewers. And then the 2027 changes are even further things that affect American viewership, right? Like American viewership, and this, I'm talking about American viewership because that's the audience they want to tap. It exists here in Canada. I have friends here in Winnipeg. I have family members here in Winnipeg that think it's super lame that you can win off a missed field goal, that think it's super lame that you have, that you have the uprights in the front of the end zone. Again, I know I'm saying things in a market right now to people that they might not want to hear this, and I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying that it exists. So my point in that is that they didn't really say that, so they call it modernization. They call it all these things. It sounds like they're not telling the full truth. And so that's really the thing that bothered me about the messaging. So I brought it up with my conversation with Stuart Johnson this morning. I got a chance to finally speak with him, and I asked him just that. And whether you want to believe him or not, I do think he cares about the league. I do think he sees this as beneficial to the Canadian game. But what he said to me, again, trust him, don't trust him, that's up to you. He said that that's not the aim, that the aim isn't about trying to grow in the States. Again, is that understandable in these next 2 years? Yeah, I get it. There's no way they're going to grow into the States the next 2 seasons as they go through these mix. I think it's the years after. And I think that's the fear of the unknown, particularly to those CFL diehards, that's so hard to digest, right? It's the fear of the unknown that they've had since they started watching this league. And in this case, it feels like it could be American expansion because the changes that we're going to see over the next 2 years, like it or not, whether it goes that way or not, sets this league up to have that as an option.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's not the priority of it. I don't think that's the main goal of it. If that ended up being something that was great for the league and made it more healthy down the line, I mean, listen, I wouldn't be. I mean, they've already done that. I mean, it didn't work particularly well. I mean, it was.
I think we should talk about this for a second. U.S. expansion, because you can't look at U.S. expansion in the past and look through it in a 2025 lens. What they did back then, man, was they were so desperate for cash that they were taking expansion fees without really doing their due diligence.
From anybody,
like right?
The Glebermans,
like this you would never get away with that this year. This would never happen. It was, I don't want to call it slimy because it's a bad word for it, but it was just kind of weird, slimy business back then. This would be an enterprise. And again, I'm not trying to convince anybody that you should like it and whatever, but it's not the same thing as before. This would be growing the game, growing an audience. I think for the people, particularly, the older viewers in this who have this league dear to their heart, I'm not telling them, and I will never tell them to chill out or relax or whatever. But I think you do need to understand that your league that you love is not the league that young people who are growing up, people who have grown up with a cell phone in their face their entire life will appeal to. And so you hear Pierre Diakowski, great guy. And I think he brings in a ton of intel and information. But sorry, man, but Louis Pasegula being your favorite player as a child is a whole different universe than today. People have a front row seat. They don't need to go to the warm-up of a CFL football game to understand who a person is. It's on their phone. It's brought in right to them. So that nostalgia and charm, Huss, are so important to the Canadian Football League. It's the reason why I love the Canadian Football League. I'm not a CFL lifer. I took over the Bombers beat in 2016, and you could probably argue that I was an NFL snob at the time. Right. But I got to know the league. I got to see what makes it unique. And of course, I got to, I'm covering it. I didn't just take the role of president of reporters of Football Reporters of Canada because I just wanted to do a volunteer job that takes up a ton of my time. I love this league. I love what it brings. But I understand that if it's going to be viable, if it's going to grow, it needs to have a larger audience. And if you can't get that, I think they're trying to get that audience in Canada. They're trying to convert some of those people who kind of, much like the Americans, look at the CFL as a much lesser league.
To me, that's the priority.
That has to be the priority, right? And hopefully, this is obviously the gamble in all this, is that they don't alienate people to the point where they don't want to support it anymore, right? That's the gamble here. That's the gamble in doing it in a very small group, right? Because I think that's part of it too. And when I spoke to the commissioner this morning, I even said it. I said there's a fine line between pride and arrogance. And I think you walk that line when you go up to a podium as excited as you are with the information that you've known for 6 months and expect the people around you to share in that same excitement when they haven't had a seat at the table. And I think that is the learning lesson in all this. And I think that is why the commissioner has spent the rest of this week and likely the ensuing weeks here and months as these things happen, explaining to Canadians that we're not going to the American game, right? Rather than getting them to join in on the excitement, they needed to mourn a little bit. They needed to feel it. They needed to hit. They weren't ready to celebrate. They need time. They need to reflect on this. And while there's some people who have already got on, and believe that this is the right direction, I do think those people who've been watching this game for decades and just watched it change overnight, they need that time and space to kind of come around if they ever do come around.
Yeah, no, listen, it's a conversation that's not going to die anytime soon. And I've been here for all of the opinions around it. And the one thing that I'll say just as we transition to the game tomorrow is that it does show just how passionate so many people are about the Canadian Football League. And I think, and listen, it's a little different here because the Bombers are big time in Winnipeg. The Riders are the team in Saskatchewan. That's not the case everywhere else in the league for the most part. And the overdrives, the shows out in BC, in Alberta, this was a massive, massive story, lots of attention, and hopefully got the attention of a lot of the people that they haven't had on side, that maybe will come on board and at least give it a chance with what they're doing. That's in the future. Right now is a huge, huge weekend in the Canadian Football League. And, Hammer, for the first time since the start of the year, with the exception of Chad Kelly, who, for my opinion, is not the starting quarterback for the Argos. It's Nick Arbuckle with what he's done this year. We've got all the quarterbacks back. VA's going to go for Calgary. Davis Alexander's back for Montreal. It's Arbuckle and Rourke in the Toronto BC game tonight. Zach is back for the Bombers against Bo Levi and the TiCats. And then Trevor Harris and Cody Fajardo, shaping up to be an incredible week. And when we think about just how tightly packed this entire league is right now, this is a big boy week in the Canadian Football League. Massive implications in so many of these games, including, of course, the one here in Winnipeg tomorrow. How big of a difference does it make for the Blue Bombers to have Zach Collaros back after the most bizarre win I can remember last week, doing it basically without a passing game?
Can you believe it, Huss? They're benching the 3-1 Chris Streveler? What is happening here, right? This, I don't know, is
this not about winning football games?
Isn't this, is this not about, if you extend that across an entire season, Huss, I don't know, simple math suggests that's 12 wins? With him at the helm? Or whatever it is.
Let's do it.
Might be wrong. My point is that this is, every week is going to be an important week. Of course, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers get a massive boost to their offense, and getting Zach Collaros back, 3 completed passes is not going to get the job done, particularly against the Hamilton TiCats team that also has plenty to play for. I make the comment that every week leading up to this, up to the playoffs is going to matter because we have such a logjam down south in the standings, right? You really only look at Saskatchewan, honestly, in the West as being probably comfortable in their place at top spot in the West. Calgary all of a sudden looks a bit vulnerable, and with Winnipeg and BC not far behind, that's catchable. You saw BC, find their game last week, and Nathan Rourke's obviously fired up from the potential change or from the proposed changes here. So who knows how that transitions to the field. So I think there's, this is to your first original point, it's obviously important to have the best players on the field playing. We've seen those games where we've missed 2 of those starting quarterbacks and seen bad football. We've seen bad football with missing 1. So it's great to have those players back in the mix and not out long enough. And again, everyone's got something to play for. Even the Ottawa Red Blacks and the Toronto Argonauts of the world, and even the Edmonton Elks. They still have a technical shot here. We are getting to that time though, Huss, where the CFL is emailing out playoff scenarios, right? So the runway is shortening, and we're going to see the playoff picture get a little bit clearer with each week, but it's still going to be fairly muddy here for the next couple before that happens.
Yeah, if you haven't already, I'm just looking to see where this thing is up at Coolbet. We do have the CFL 110 Week 17 boost, and this is why you want to get on it early. When we put this out, we had to boost it up to about plus 470, and we got some great lines. Montreal to win, they're now 4.5-point favorites. Argos plus 10.5, they're now 7-point favorites, so we got an extra 3.5 points there. And Bombers money line, they're now a 1-point favorite in the game. The boost is still up, though, from plus 312 to plus 356. You can get that in the combo cards. Hammer, have yourself a great weekend. Continue your victory lap. October 22nd, the entire WST crew will be coming for you. But, hey, that's what happens when you go back-to-back. Congrats again, and we'll see you next week for a big CFL 110 edition on Tuesday, coming out of a massive weekend in the 3-down game this week. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on the show. Thanks for inviting me out to those tournaments. Look forward to having a target on my back. Maybe that's a whole new game, right? The tape is out. The tape is out now. So I'll have to bring my my A game. So everybody have a great weekend. Have a safe weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Right on, dude. There's Jeff Hamilton at Jeff K. Hamilton on X, and of course you can read all of his work in the pages of the Winnipeg Free Press and at winnipegfreepress.com. We got to get to the Jays. Big win last night. Josh Goldberg's going to join us in just a minute. But as we laid out, this is one of the best sports weekends of the year. It is absolutely a great weekend to get together with your gang and post up at your local Boston Pizza Lounge for Jets preseason hockey, a Bomber game tomorrow, the Ryder Cup, and a full slate of NFL games on Sunday. Not to mention the final weekend of the Toronto Blue Jays regular season with the AL East hanging in the balance. Head on down to BP this weekend when you're looking for a spot to gather with your gang for the big game. Enjoy those ice-cold schooners, world-famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and more. Great prizes as well for NFL primetime games at your local BP. And, hey, if you are staying at home tonight to watch the games, you can always get the great taste of BP by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. Hey, it is, of course, Truth and Reconciliation Day, and on Tuesday, and I did get a message from Greg over at Royal that in addition to all the great Blue Bomber merchandise that they have, many exclusives that you won't find anywhere else. They do also have the T-shirts for the new orange shirt game, which I don't believe the shirts are actually orange, but they do have that very cool Bomber Indigenous logo on. The team will be wearing them. Those just came into Royal Sports if you want to pick one of those up. And, of course, all the Jets gear in for the new season, all the NFL gear in for the new season, and the number one spot for hockey for over 50 years. If you're about to lace them up again for a new season, pop by Royal Sport. They've got you covered from top to bottom, from full equipment to sticks, skates, stick tape, pucks, you name it. Royal has it for 50 years as the hockey superstore in town. 750 Pembina Highway. Give them a follow on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Listen, Josh Goldberg's going to join us in just a second. First up, though, it's Friday. Let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, we're going to talk Jays right now, and I'll throw out the why not question of the day for not Autocorp but Waverly McGillivray to all of you Jays fans who got a chance to exhale after last night's win against the Boston Red Sox. Here it is, and it's very simply, can the Jays hang on and win the AL East and get that incredibly important bye in the first round of the playoffs? They got 3 at home against the Rays this weekend. The Yankees had the Baltimore Orioles. If they win the same amount of games as the Yankees, they will win the AL East. Let us know in the chat how you're feeling, Jays fans. And let's bring in from Blue Jays Nation our pal, Josh Goldberg. Josh, what's up? How are you?
Good to be on with you as always, Huss.
Yeah, that was a game that the entire country needed last night. And, listen, going in, I was a little surprised that the Jays were actually favored in the game because this was a bullpen game. And God knows we've talked a lot about the bullpen, but my God, did that crew, led by Louis Varland right out of the gate, come through last night in a game that they absolutely had to have.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I was a little bit surprised that the Jays were favored by as much as they were as well. Not just because it was a bullpen game, but because they had lost 6 out of 7 and the offense had been so cold. And they were facing, he's inconsistent, but a pitcher who has had a good season in Brian Bayo. And credit to them, they made him work and they got him out of the game relatively early. And then they stepped up in a big moment and cashed in a bunch of runs when they sorely needed them. Bullpen deserves full marks for that. And it was a very, very much needed win. And it's still all in front of them. Obviously we were all hoping that it wouldn't come down to the final weekend or potentially the final day of the season, but they still do control their own fate. They're playing a team that doesn't have much to play for. Yes, I know it's the Rays. Yes, I know the history, but the Jays, it's all in their control. They got to go out there and take care of business. And if they do that, they'll like where they're at on Sunday afternoon.
Considering where the team has been, where they've been recently, and what is to come, if the Jays end up hanging on and winning the division, will we look at that Dalton Varsho slam last night as potentially one of the most high leverage, important at-bats and hits of the season?
Definitely. I don't think there's any doubt about it. The same way that you could look at the Santander near Grand Slam if things flip another way. When you're in a race as tight as this one moment can really make all of the difference in the world. And Dalton Varsho going into that at bat had 1 home run against a left-handed pitcher this year. And I believe it came on Saturday in Kansas City. So I know he missed a bunch of time this year with a couple of different injuries, but he still had at bats against left-handed pitching and done basically nothing with them. So the statistics would tell you the likelihood, and I believe he was in a 2-strike hole in that situation as well. The statistics would tell you the likelihood of him hitting a grand slam in that scenario would be really, really low. So those are the kinds of things that can really spur you on and flip the script and give you a good deal of momentum. And it looked rather bleak 24 hours ago. They had a bullpen game. They had lost 6-7. They were on the verge of being swept. They pushed Shane Bieber back. Now they have Shane Bieber starting the first game of a series. You like that. And looking at the Yankees, yeah, they're red hot and they're playing some crappy teams. There's no question about it. But they are going to face 2 really good pitchers that Baltimore has this weekend. Tonight, Trevor Rogers, who's been amazing this year, and Kyle Bradish is back, and he's great as well. So I know that it's still the Orioles, but the Yankees are going to have to earn it maybe more than they did in the 3 games against the White Sox.
Josh, you mentioned the pitching, and there is so many questions now that all of a sudden the division is very much up in the air about what is at stake for this weekend. I mean, you mentioned with Bieber, how much do things change for the playoffs, for the Jays for the playoffs pitching wise, if they have to play the wild card series a day after the regular season ends?
It would be about, obviously the worst case scenario is not being in the playoffs, but next to that, considering where you were, and odds are you're going to have a meaningful game on Sunday. And if you have a meaningful game on Sunday, you're going to start Kevin Gausman. I just think if you still have an opportunity to secure the American League East title. He's pitching on Sunday. And if it doesn't go the way that you want it to, and then you have game 1 on Tuesday at home in the best of 3, who's going to be available for that game? It's not going to be Bieber. You're not starting him on short rest. Obviously, it's not going to be Gausman. Is it going to be Chris Bassett coming off of an IL stint with some back inflammation? I don't know how legitimate of an injury that was versus just kind of backing him off. Max Scherzer, God's like his first inning struggles are well documented at this point. Like, I just don't think that there's any good scenario where the pitching matchup or configuration is in the Blue Jays' favor if they happen to be in a wild card series starting on Tuesday.
What is the situation with Bo?
I think it's, as of now, it's kind of status quo. He's hitting, but he hasn't really progressed to running with much intensity or playing the field. So that doesn't give him that much time. And you want to talk about even another layer of importance to not having to play on Tuesday is buying him another 3 or 4 days of rest. You're talking about potentially at this point a day-to-day scenario in terms of what level of progress he's making in terms of his recovery. So if an extra couple days buys him more time and gives him a better chance of being in the lineup come game 1, ideally, of the ALDS, then that would obviously be great, because right now it feels as though something would have to really change. There'd have to be like a big breakthrough, a big threshold met in terms of where he's at on the rehab timetable in order for him to be a realistic option when the postseason starts, potentially on Tuesday.
Is Vlad turning the corner? I mean, there's been a lot of ups and downs for him this season, but man, he was ice cold and certainly seems to have the fire. Got on yesterday, very emotional with the gang with that win. I mean, especially with Bo dinged up. I mean, it really seems like as Vladimir Guerrero Jr. goes, in addition to the pitching, so do the Blue Jays.
No question. And he had one of his worst stretches of the season the last couple of weeks. And I just thought he looked out of whack mechanically in the box. Some of his swings just were not what you would expect them to be. And I feel as though when he's at his best, yeah, obviously his pitch recognition is excellent and he can drive the ball to all parts of the field, but he's really letting it eat in the batter's box. Like, he's taking a violent hack. And I feel as though he knows like when to throttle back and when to really push it. And it just feels as though he's been kind of caught in between a little bit. And I wonder if the last couple of days there have been some better swings and some better at bats, but you still need to see some legitimate signs of progress before you feel as though he's making improvements. But the Jays, as has been the case in their previous 3 trips to the playoffs, he hasn't really done anything. And if he's not able to do anything and Bichette is either unable to play or not able to perform as he is capable of, then the Blue Jays are going to be in tough. As we've seen here over the past couple of weeks, without a couple of guys performing, it's really been mostly just George Springer who's still been able to keep his head above water. And it's led to a lot of 3 or 4 hit games as a team, scoring 1 or 2 runs. And run scoring is always at a premium in the playoffs. And if you're heading into October in a place where the confidence as a whole is not quite where you want it to be, then that's a real problem that the Blue Jays will be in tough to fix really quickly.
It's funny you mentioned George Springer and keeping his head above the water. His head almost exploded earlier this weekend in that series against the Red Sox with, of course, the foul ball called on what would have been at least a 2-run hit and then getting rung up afterwards. And man, was he emotional after hitting that homer yesterday. In a lot of ways, a guy that was basically written off, I think, by most going into this season as an argument for being the most impactful player from game 1 to game 159 at this point of the season.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. Like, if you're casting votes for team MVP this year, which I believe is happening or has already happened, I would be surprised if he wasn't unanimous for all the reasons you talked about: the expectations, the consistency, the impact that he's had in big spots time and time again. He's really been the one constant. He hasn't really missed much time, which has been obviously an issue for him throughout his career and throughout his time in Toronto. He's been largely healthy, and he's avoided any slumps or real valleys. It's mostly been peaks, and he's had one of the most unexpectedly great seasons that I can remember a Blue Jay having. And hopefully he can finally show the type of player he's been in the postseason in the past, because you look at a lot of postseason leaderboards historically, he's up there in terms of power production and coming up in clutch spots. He's had a lot of big moments in the postseason. And if Bichette is either unavailable or far from 100% or Guerrero's not quite performing, then George Springer is going to be the guy that is counted on to deliver in those big spots. And history would tell you more often than not, when the calendar flips to October, he finds a way to deliver.
Josh, before we go, tee up tonight's game. Bieber back on the hill. This is one, I mean, when you got Shane Bieber playing, this is his last start before the playoffs, considering the situation the Jays are in. I mean, this feels as much of a must-win as there is, considering the stakes in these final three games.
Yeah, I think you have to take advantage of the pitching advantage being in your favor, the matchup being in your favor. And the Rays are the Rays. They're always going to be a team, even if they don't have that much talent. Yandy Diaz is uncertain to be much of a factor in terms of health in this series, which could be a big boost for the Blue Jays because he's a great hitter and has hurt them a lot over the years. But if you're not sharp defensively, or your at-bats are out of whack, or your pitching is not quite sharp, then there's still enough there for the Rays to scrap out some wins. So as expected, the Blue Jays are going to have to earn it, but it's of paramount importance that you take advantage of having Shane Bieber on the mound with an extra day of rest and get this series off on the right foot and pick up another big win.
Hey, pal, great stuff. I cannot wait for this weekend to see what happens, and really looking forward to the playoffs next week. Hopefully you can squeeze us in next week to talk about hopefully the wild card series that don't involve the Blue Jays and look ahead to the divisional round, but we will find out over the next three. Josh, have a great weekend, and thanks for doing this.
You too, Huss. Talk to you soon.
Appreciate it. There's Josh Goldberg at jgoldberg12. Check out his work over at Blue Jays Nation. All right, we're going to dive into the NFL Notebook with Hacksaw. We'll open up marbles registration in just a couple minutes, so pay attention to the chat. Before we do that, I do want to get to fan feedback, brought to you by Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market, where what you see is what you pay, no added fees, unlike most of the other ticket resellers. Of course, Jets season is back. Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling Jets tickets, or getting rid of a couple if you have them. And as far as the Bombers go, another full house, sold out game at Princess Auto Stadium. So if you're struggling to find a couple seats, head on over to fansfirst.ca. I was asking Jays fans how you're feeling about the team right now before we talk to Josh. Alex House says, I don't think the Jays win the East. I think the Yankees run the table, and the Rays sneak it one past the Jays, because funny things always happen versus Tampa. Got to give a shout out to our pal Slick McGee overseas in England. Anyone going to be watching the Canada-England Women's Rugby World Cup Championship game tomorrow? Even more sports for the weekend, and then he drops in a Go Red Roses. We're riding with our Canadian women in the game tomorrow, 10 a.m. Central Time on TSN, if you want to check that out. And then, I mean, the chat has just been nonstop with CFL talk throughout the week. Leslie Mitchnuck says, I do also agree the league and many of our teams need to be much better at marketing and put more money into that. TSN also needs to do much more to advertise the league. And a couple more in here before we go. MC Stormy Jets Pope here. Sorry, I'm watching about 18 minutes behind. But that was an amazing monologue by Hammer about some of us traditionalists just need time to mourn about the rule changes, and that is okay. Keep it all coming in the chat. Fan feedback brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. All right, pay attention to chat for marbles registration. Let's bring in the hacksaw, Lee Hamilton, for the NFL Notebook. Saw, what's going on? Oh, wait, we got to get you unmuted there.
Yeah, we're good now.
We're good now. What's up, Saw?
Awful lot of football to cover, but not enough hours because we got the pennant races and we got this craziness at Bethpage Black. And I know you're a golf fan. I've seen your ball out on the highway, bounced off my car. I mean, what an unbelievable weekend we have upon us right now.
Yeah, this honestly, I would say top 5. It might be a top 3 sports weekend of the year. If you do love the golf, to me, the Ryder Cup is better than any other event. It is so much fun. And great start for the Euros so far, and they're going at it at Bethpage this afternoon. Saw, listen, just before we get to the NFL, I do want to hit Major League Baseball with you for a minute. Jays fans are really sweating this out, tied with the Yankees, although they do have the tiebreaker going into this final weekend of the season. But some pretty interesting wild card races as well. The Detroit Tigers collapse is something that I've never seen anything like, and they finally got a win against Cleveland last night to stay in the mix going into this final part of the weekend. But, whether it's the Mets, the Reds, the free-falling Tigers, there's a lot at stake in these final 3 games of the regular season.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's just electric what we're going to see Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it does not matter which division you're in. There's somebody's impacted by any of this. I feel bad for the Blue Jays because they've got great, very steady, trustworthy frontline pitching, but they just have not been quite the same since Bo Bichette got hurt. Now, Springer, as your prior guest was just alluding to, Springer has really had a very consistent, good season, which is kind of a bounce-back year for him based on, where he had been the prior couple of campaigns. But, can the Jays do this for an extended run if Bichette is not going to be there? And that's a big issue to me. It's just from a chemistry productivity standpoint, the Jays lineup just doesn't look the same without Bo Bichette. So that's tough. The Yankees are just slamming their way into this situation. The Yankees are 21-8, since early August. I mean, they are just pounding the baseball. And I think they finish up with Miami in this weekend series. So, maybe the Yankees win this thing in Toronto, settles for the wild card. That American League Central, I was concerned about Detroit's pitching all along, and then virtually every one of those guys fell apart, and then Tarek Skubal had the oblique injury, and then the bad situation where Skubal came unraveled after he hit the Cleveland batter in the face with an accidental pitch. He emotionally came apart on the mound. Detroit's in huge trouble. And the stunning thing to me is Cleveland is doing this with probably one name player in the lineup that anybody recognizes, Jose Ramirez. The rest of these guys are all farm system guys. I mean, and the Guardians are just playing great baseball. So I think Cleveland could win this thing. And hell, Detroit may fall out of this thing completely because there's no guarantee that they're going to dominate this weekend. Their pitching staff is just totally shot. All their starters are in a wall. So that's been wild. And, of course, over in the National League, the whole world is competing for the final wild card spot. You got the Mets have got this thing jammed into reverse gear trying to save their lives. I mean, how staggering would this be with a team with the second highest payroll in baseball not even make the playoffs? And the Mets have been destroyed by injuries to their pitching staff. So that bears watching, too. And, at Cincinnati, you look at their roster and say, how is this possible that this team that doesn't have a lot of pitching is in a wild card race on the final weekend of the schedule? And Arizona was there, and they traded all their players away at the deadline in a fire sale, and yet Arizona's scuffling to try to hang on for dear life. So to me, it's just fascinating what has happened. It's really exciting for baseball fans. And then, once we get to Sunday night, we can take a deep breath because we start the whole sucker over again Tuesday with wild card games, best of 3 series in it. And those series are, we play Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and there's no room for error once you get to the wild card round. So it's going to be fabulous.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a fun weekend to finish off the regular season, and then can't wait for the playoffs next week in the majors. Moving over to the NFL, a lot going on around the league. You know, the injury bug, and we're now 3 weeks in. Some big-time players. We saw the Cardinals play last night without James Conner, who's quietly one of the more effective running backs in the league. His career might be over after that horrible injury earlier this year. But first up, what's up with the Niners? We're going to see Brock Purdy back. And listen, they're 3-0, but man, they've been getting by the skin of their teeth. But credit to them for doing it without so many impact players in the lineup.
Well, they've done it at 3-0, but they haven't played a lot of tough people. And Mac Jones has played really well coming off the bench. And so Kyle Shanahan's success, his fingerprints are all over the involvement of Mac Jones, because this guy was found wanting in New England and having failed with his second tour of duty. But he's playing pretty well. But now he's dinged. He's hurt. He got hurt. He's got a shoulder issue. I don't know that Brock Purdy's ready to play. And Brandon Ayuk was supposed to come off injured reserve. His rehab from 2 knee scopes is not gone well. He's not ready. I mean, it's like Christian McCaffrey against the world there. It's just absolutely stunning. So if Mac Jones is playing at less than 100% this weekend, that doesn't bode well. And of course, losing Nick Bosa, it's catastrophic. I mean, they've had so many injuries defensively and offensively, starting with training camp. It's just staggering. And they're 3-0. So, I mean, Shanahan's just coaching his shoes off. I don't know how much longer this can go there.
The other big quarterback news was Russell Wilson getting the bench. Now, he did author one of the worst 4-down series I can remember at the end of that game against the Chiefs. But, Lee, it just sort of felt like the pressure from the fans at MetLife on Sunday night, and then the way that game ended kind of pushed Brian Daboll to maybe hit the emergency button a little earlier. I really thought that they would have loved to wait for the Saints game next week. Instead, Jackson Dart is going to have to make his first NFL start against a team that has been a real handful for the rest of the league in the Chargers on Sunday. What do you make of the move by Brian Daboll?
I'm not going to say panic, because virtually everybody thought that this had to happen. Russell Wilson's not the player he used to be, that's for certain. And obviously he's had some bad games. His quarterback rating is 71. You can't live in the NFL with a quarterback with a rating of 71. And, touchdowns, but he's throwing interceptions. He's taking a lot of sacks in the first 3 games. It's a byproduct, just not of him. And he's got a lot of miles on him. This is a byproduct of not a very good team. Malik Neighbors has just not been healthy at wide receiver, and he's their star. And they just lost their number 1 running back, Tyrone Tracy. He's gone indefinitely, with a shoulder dislocation. So Russell Wilson can't do it by himself. I think the weird thing is Daboll makes the change, and then yesterday, Hustler, because it's been a constant barrage of questions about Jackson Dart, he says, I made the change. I'm the head coach. And we found out he did not meet with any of his coaches to talk about a quarterback change. He did not meet with the general manager and talk player personnel people. He just made the change in a vacuum by himself. Now, they had to do something. Of course, Jameis Winston's there. So they must feel that Jackson Dart has progressed so much from preseason, and they see him in all the workouts. We don't get to see all that in the working media. Those workouts are primarily locked down. So they think he's probably taken a big jump. You have to play him sometime, so you start him against the Chargers at home and see how he holds up to it, and then you get New Orleans, and you try to, you layer him, you build, and hope there's some successful Sundays after Sundays they can work through. They drafted him, play him, he is the future. Won't be easy, doesn't have a real good team around him.
Lee, I have to give credit to the Cleveland Browns drafting, and all the talk about the draft was the fact, they took Dylan Gabriel, and then they took Shadur Sanders. Every other player that they drafted in the draft class is contributing big time to what they're doing. And their defense has been amongst the best in the league. Just ask the Green Bay Packers last week. But what are you hearing about what's happening in and around the locker room right now, the Browns, as they try to, get to be a point where they're a competitive team on a weekly basis, led by the veteran Joe Flacco ahead of those 2 rookies I mentioned?
Well, Flacco's going backwards in productivity, and that's become an issue. Their offensive line is a mess. It's always been a mess for the last whole group of years. They can't keep their offensive tackles on the field. So that's a real crisis situation. I think at the end of the day, they're going to have to make a decision on Dillon Gabriel. He's probably going to wind up playing sooner than later. Flacco's throwing interceptions. He's taking sacks. He's taking hits. His quarterback rating has started to drop, etc. They're not running the ball very well. So Flacco is a short-term plug-in. Gabriel played so well in preseason, so maybe he deserves a chance. But now there's the outer circle. Deion Sanders went public this week and said, my son Shedeur should be starting. And now Shedeur made a comment, kind of dropped the hint, I should be playing now. So there's an awful lot of internal stuff going on. I don't know if it's spilled into the locker room, if there's a big debate there, but I would assume Dillon Gabriel is going to get a chance to play sooner than later. And you're correct. And I've talked extensively about Myles Garrett. That defense is absolutely phenomenal. I think they got 10 quarterback sacks already this season, and they're just playing with their hair on fire. So they need to get a semblance of competitiveness at quarterback there.
Lee, one more team to ask you about, and they're overseas this weekend taking on the Vikings. The Pittsburgh Steelers got a big win last weekend in New England, but it still does seem like this team is very much a work in progress for Mike Tomlin.
Well, there's two angles here to the storyline as they go to Dublin to play the Minnesota Vikings. One storyline is Aaron Rodgers really looks pedestrian. Aaron Rodgers, he looks old, and they're not doing very much. He threw for 127 last week. I think offensively they're averaging 276 yards per game in Pittsburgh. That's one storyline, that their offense just seems to be behind the power curve. The other storyline, nobody's talked about this at all, their defense is not playing well worth a lick. And that's kind of stunning that Pittsburgh's defense has given them like 356 yards per game. And the pass rush is just not there. Now, they are getting the number one draft pick back. I think he's going to play, the kid out of Oregon, Harmon, a big defensive tackle. And, of course, Cam Hayward's had some injury problems. But if they can get that defense cranked up, that's going to take some of the pressure off the quarterbacks. But it just has a sense they're kind of living on borrowed time right now, and they're not very productive. You got to do more than what they're doing right now with Aaron Rodgers.
Hacksaw, some big-time games this weekend. We got a primetime game, the return of Micah Parsons to Dallas, but before that, Rams, Colts, Eagles, Tampa Bay, I can't wait. And, of course, hard to believe that one of these two teams is going to be 1-3, but that will be the case, barring a tie at Arrowhead Stadium when the Ravens, coming off their loss on Monday night to the Lions, take on the Chiefs, who got off the schneid against the Giants last Sunday.
Yeah, let's just jump around the roadmap quickly for you. Baltimore's given up 450 yards per game in defense. Never ever seen that before in a Harbaugh defense. They got a lot of injuries. Granted, they've still got 14 games left in the season to play. Lamar Jackson can't do it by himself, and he is. I mean, the numbers he's putting up, he's got a quarterback rating of 140, which is amazing. He's got 12 touchdowns, no interceptions. But Derrick Henry has had one good game and other games marred by fumbles. So Baltimore, they're going to explode on somebody. Kansas City is just not Kansas City. Mahomes cannot do this by himself. Patrick's got 3 touchdown passes in 3 games. Their explosiveness down the field has not occurred. Rashee Rice is now back in team meetings. He's allowed back in the facility, though he won't be eligible to play till week 7. They think that this young wide receiver, Tyquan Thornton, is about to explode. But they just don't have any plays down the field yet. And I don't know where the tight end packages have gone, because Kelsey's not catching a lot of balls, and Gray, the other tight end's not catching. They can't run the ball worth a lick. The top 2 running backs are averaging 3 yards per carry. So it's kind of like Mahomes against the world. So that's a bad game. And, somebody's going to be 1-3 Sunday night. I think it's the guys that are wearing your colors are going to be 1-3 on Sunday night. Tampa Bay, Philadelphia. Baker Mayfield's been a one-man show. Is he playing really well. But this is an Eagles team that's really deep. And an Eagles team that's got a fierce pass rush. So Baker's going to be scrambling all over the place. Although the Eagles' offense has not been what the Eagles had been at the end of last season. Saquon Barkley's not playing power football at this point, running it. And Philadelphia's got problems on the right side of the offensive line. Now they've lost Lane Johnson, the tackle. They've already lost their guard. Johnson went down with a neck injury. Get this, he got hurt in a push play at the line of scrimmage. And the coaches have been barking about, this is a dangerous place. Somebody's going to get hurt. Well, the Eagles' star right tackle's the guy that got hurt in the push. So I think Philadelphia is going to beat Tampa because I don't think Baker could do the whole thing by himself. Green Bay, Dallas, be very emotional. Michael Parsons, Dak Prescott. I think the big storyline there is Cowboy offense is averaging 393 a game. I mean, Dak is heaving that thing all over the field, but he does not have CD Lamb now because he's gone with a bad ankle. But the other big thing in Dallas, they're giving up 397 yards per game. I mean, if Baltimore is not in the league, this would be the worst defense in the NFL. So keep an eye on that one too. Green Bay, they're going to have to contain that pass rush, but then again, Micah Parsons and the boys, is Dallas going to be able to protect Dak? I think that's going to be a wild game too. So we got 3 or 4 really cool games. Rams defense is playing with their hair on fire. That Daniel Jones has had a great start to the season in Indy, but Indy has not played anybody. They're playing Jarrett Verse and Brandon Fisk, and a defense that's got 12 quarterback sacks in LA. So I think this is the end of the run for Indianapolis in terms of their unbeaten start. And the Rams will just pick themselves up off the floor after last week's kind of gut-wrenching loss.
Yeah, that game is fascinating to me because, of course, the Colts have had that that great start. I will say this: they did beat the Denver Broncos. Now, the Broncos probably should have won at the end, but they put up almost 30 points against the Broncos defense that's amongst the top of the league. So that one should be fun. I do expect the Rams to win it. Now, listen, we got Ryder Cup, Major League Baseball playoffs, NFL. Are you going to need to make the best 15 minutes, the best 30 minutes with everything going on this weekend for LeeHacksawHamilton.com?
Well, listen, for the O Canada Network, you guys up in Winnipeg, if you've never checked my website, you're missing something. It's all written. It takes you 5 minutes every morning to read it. I have what I call the best 15 minutes in sports, which is a summary of everything in sports. And then I write a very opinionated one-man's opinion column every week. Hell, the Winnipeg Free Press ought to hire me. So check my website out. It's absolutely free. And when you're done watching Hustler and the guys and, drinking the 1919s, turn around, sample my podcast. Just go to YouTube, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. It's kind of different. It's all his fault. Hustler introduced me to podcast. We got that thing cooking this side of the border crossing.
Enjoy a cold one on Beer Friday, Hacksaw, and have a great sports weekend. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you again up north.
All right, there's Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. You want to follow him on X as well, at Hacksaw1090. He'll often put out a heads up that the headlines are out each and every night. All right, we've got marbles registration, which is well underway. So we'll give you a quick moment to get to that. Let's take a quick look over at the Coolbet lines for today. Or actually, you know what, Remo, before we do the Coolbet lines, just let's circle back to the Jets for a moment. We do have a little bit of Scott Arniel, which we should squeeze in. Obviously, 2 preseason games this weekend, I should say, tonight in Edmonton, and then back tomorrow at home. But the group tonight, the 3rd line, the 4th line projected, as well as Colby Barlow, Zhilkin, Lambert getting another one. Here's Arniel on what he wants to see tonight from the group in Edmonton.
Yeah, you know what? Everybody but Vladdy's line have played a game. So I mentioned this morning that they kind of got the summer hockey bad habits out of the way the first games they've played. So now I expect a little bit more attention to detail with the structure of the system. They're still fighting for jobs, to go out and make sure that, put their best foot forward.
With Brad Lambert, looked a little more like himself in the second game, and you expecting another jump here tonight?
Yeah, like everybody, but like a lot of those young guys, it's do what you do best. So I think that he showed his speed at times. I think that he got himself in position to get some good looks, and that's what we want. We want him to continue to do those things. I think that I could say that probably for a bunch of the young guys. I thought they were better if they got to play a second game, and that's what you want to get the rust off. You want to get going and try to be as close to the player that you need to be to get on our roster.
All right, so there's Coach Arniel on this game tonight. Speaking of those young players, unfortunately, we won't see Elias Salmonson, who is out. Here's Arnie just talking about where Elias is and the opportunities for young players.
Yeah, he's sick. He came in this morning. He was supposed to play tonight. He's sick, so we had to do a quick. Saunders going to have to go in just because he was coming anyways, so now he'll go in the lineup.
Is this kind of a last chance for a lot of the young players to show something tonight?
No, not yet. We still got tomorrow night. I know there's 2 teams, as you see. We still have that game down in Mini. Yeah, there's some veterans that will probably only play 2 games. We're trying to get the kids somewhere in 3, some of them maybe 4 games. But we got to see how we get through the weekend on the injuries and stuff like that. And we're gonna thin the herd here a little bit too, getting into next week. So no, there's still opportunities, obviously, and that's part of, like I mentioned, go out and play well, and you earn yourself another opportunity.
Got one more from the coach on Elias Salmonson, who unfortunately won't be able to play tonight, as he just mentioned. Listen, we spent plenty of time talking about just how crowded the Jet blue line is, with 9 players on one-way deals ahead of Elias Salmonson. Scott Arniel was asked about Elias's spot on the depth chart and keeping him motivated.
Probably, if you look at our draft last year and then more so this year, like we've been making a point of getting some defensemen. With our first pick, especially this year. Saul's he's probably the number 1 prospect on defense. It's a little bit thin, and so I think we're getting better at it. I think for him, we're trying to make him a 15-year pro. We're not trying to make him a 1-year pro. And all these lessons, all these things that he learns as he moves forward, whether it's practice or exhibition games, that's all growth for him. And I don't know. It might be game 1 against Dallas. It might be game 20. It might be, the end of the season. It might be next year. I'm not sure when that'll all start for him, but at the end of the day, he's a heck of a prospect that has grew last year, had a really good year other than the injury, and that's what we want. We want these guys to continue to move forward, a lot like the forward group that's coming in trying to battle for spots. They're probably a year or 2 ahead of them on being in the American League and the NHL, and you need that youth to come. It has to come and fill holes for you. It can't all be about free agency and free agency and trades. It has to be young guys stepping in.
All right, so there's the coach. Jets tonight in Edmonton, tomorrow, 7 o'clock, Canada Life Center. Scheifele, Connor, Morrissey, Connor Hellebuck, all 4 of the players that were on the Jets, or then the NHL's top 50 player list from TSN should be in the lineup tomorrow night. Again, Connor and Liz will have plenty more on the Jets weekend, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk on WST Sunday Live. All right, Remo, if you want to get the names ready for marbles, I will quickly look over to the Coolbet lines, and we'll start off in the Canadian Football League as we talk with Hammer. The quarterbacks are back. VA versus Davis Alexander, Calgary, Montreal tonight. The Alouettes now a 5-point favorite in this game. We got Toronto, BC tonight. This was 10.5 earlier this week. It's now 7.5 for the British Columbia Lions. Arbuckle will start. Nathan Rourke for the BC Lions. And, of course, Zach Caleros is back. Tightest one on the board this weekend. Bombers, 1-point favorites over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Minus 128 on the money line. Plus 105 for Hamilton. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders laying 4 as favorites on the road in Edmonton against the Elks. Full slate of NFL games are set up. Of course, the Vikings are 2.5-point favorites against the Steelers in Dublin. A couple of those other big games we talked about with Lee. The Bucks, 3.5-point home dogs against the Eagles. I'll be putting a little sprinkle on Tampa Bay to keep that one close. You got the Rams, 3.5-point favorites over the Colts. And the big one at Arrowhead for just the 3rd time ever, Patrick Mahomes is an underdog at home. The Ravens are 2.5-point favorites against Kansas City Chiefs, plus 125 on the money line. And then, yes, the Micah Parsons return to Dallas with the Packers coming off that loss to Cleveland. 7 is the number right now for the Green Bay Packers. You can get them at minus 119 if you want to lay 6.5. The Sunday Week 4 specials are up right now. And then, of course, we've got the combo cards coming out of today's episode of WST Winners. If you missed it, it premiered this morning at 10 a.m. Check out the YouTube channel. We've got a whole bunch cooked up into the combo cards. Our spread parlay is Vikings minus 2.5, Patriots minus 4.5, and Rams minus 3.5. That one's boosted to plus 668. We hit our touchdown parlay last week. Let's try and do it again. We've got a Jordan Mason touchdown, Nico Collins, and Breece Hall on Monday. That one's got a boost over 10-1 to plus 1077. And then we've got the Survivor Super Boost. Bills, Texans, Broncos to win. That one's got a nice boost to just south of even money at -104. Check the combo cards. Check the WST exclusives as well for some great boosted parlays that we cooked up on this week's edition of WST Winners. And quickly, Blue Jays tonight. Jays -189 favorites against the Rays with Shane Bieber on the hill. If you haven't played a Coolbet before, use the promo code WST when you're making your first deposit for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. Remo, why don't you get the marbles ready? Quickly, just taking a look at what's going on at the Ryder Cup. 2 European flags and 1 USA. Right now, John Rahm and Straka are 3 up over Scheffler and Spawn. It's even between Tommy Fleetwood and Justin Rose and their opponents. That one is even. And then you've got a flag for Lowry and McIlroy, who are up, and Cam Young and his partner running away. They're 4 up right now. So things continuing to go well for the Europeans after winning the first session 3-1 earlier today. All right, it's marbles time. It's not the weekend until we do it here on WST. I know Remis is getting the names and the track ready, but as regulars know, we don't do marbles until we tee it up with a little Tristan Rivers music. Let's get to the marbles theme song and then officially get the weekend going here on WST.
It's Friday, another week of work's gone by. You deserve to treat yourself, maybe an ice cream cake or a bottle of rye. For the whole day in, so lax you can't deny. Why use effort even for pleasure? Give my love a try. It's time to do a marble race. No one's gonna separate and best to do worse. Marble race. Just like marbles with the punctuation first. Marble race. Don't spare you will suffer unexpected. Marble race. Get to your mark before it's too late. Say go!
All right, marbles time on WST. Remo, how are we cooking? Can you put me in, please? And how many marbles do we have today? And where will we be going?
I put you in. I also put in the 110-yard field.
Goalposts?
I didn't want to put too many in. People get mad when one of these joke ones wins, so I just put in the field. The goalposts, they're still there. They're still there. Just the field now going to be 100 yards.
RIP, 55-yard line.
Yeah, CFL 110, though, will remain named CFL 110 in honor of the former field length.
The old heads. That's right.
It's a vintage.
It'll always be ours.
It's a vintage name. I went through the tracks. This one I thought was pretty good. Surprising Cannon Alley. So we have total now 193 marbles. So there was a bit of a mishap when I first launched it. It was still tickets because we gave away tickets earlier in the week. So I had to cancel it. So if anyone came in and saw it and typed the exclamation marbles and bounced and wasn't here, 5 minutes later when we did it, too bad. We'll give it to the people who are actually watching the show, right?
That's a tough break. It's a tough break if you came in and out. We apologize if anyone did get missed, but the show must go on and the marble race must go on. All right, I'm looking forward to a new track today.
Yes, sorry, 193 marbles. 193. So, I tested this one. I think last week was a bit of a shorter. It was a surprise. We were on location. I couldn't test. Did some testing. Got my approval. I have very strict criteria. I don't mess around.
That's right. That's right. Only the best tracks for WST. And Winnipeg Sports Fan asking, where do you find these tracks? There's like a community of people that make tracks. Our favorite guy, Dylan70, who's given us some of the greatest ones, is probably number 1 in the Hall of Fame. But this one is from Anik Gamer, and it's the surprising Cannon Alley. Good luck to everybody entered in today's marble race. Let's drop them and see who our winner is for the WST hoodie. Shout out to Shipman Associates for their support of WST. Let's drop them and see who our winner is today on a Friday afternoon heading into an incredible big sports weekend. All right. XOG. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but that seems to be in first. We've got Big Maple, who just dropped a nice little UFC parlay in the chat. I'll be looking at that afterwards, Maple. Thank you for the heads up on that. We got a big coil here. An XOG and 22 Canucks seem to be our first two. We're going to roll through this coil and then into one of the trademark orbs. And then we'll see who kicks out of that one first. This is quite the extravagant course right now. All right. First marbles coming out into the orb right now. Big group. And who's in first? Oh, Ron P. What's up, Ron? An XOG Superior CD. I see Ryan Kernicki in there as well. All right there near the front of today's race. Ryan Kernicki with a very nice transition is now in first place. We've got some... These things can either help or hurt you depending on where you come in. But Ryan and Tango right now. I see XX Revolution into the mix. And Lulu M. Lulu M, speaking of great transitions, running through, just got hosed by that one. Ryan Dry now in first place. Massive group of marbles all together right now, trying to get through some of these obstacles. And it looks like Lulu and Kelly Strothman right now at the front of the line. Ryan Dry right in the mix as well. Oh, One Bird. What's up, One Bird? One Bird's in the top one now. Oh, into the shark's mouth here. All right. Lulu going into another shark. Boring Sean Monahan has entered the chat. Kelly Strothman is now in first place. Just waiting to keep it going. A bit of a league. Who must be much man?
Whoa must be nice, man.
Oh, whoa must be nice, man. In first place. CFL 60 OG. Boring Sean Monahan and Phyllis. All right, we're now back into a orb. And it looks like this is going to be the final obstacle. So whoever gets out of this first will have a very good chance at being the first one into the bin and the winner. Could it be CFL 60 OG? I think it's going to be. What a moment. What a week for the CFL and the OGs. It's only appropriate that a longtime CFL guy wins the marble race this week. Congratulations to CFL 60 OG for the win. Boring Sean Monahan in first. Camaro 328 third. Ben Tam. Pat Rathwell of the 1930 crew. What's up, Pat? Pat finished sixth. We got Lulu M. Jeff Montgomery 7th. John Lathman 8th. Garrett Soloway and Turd Ferguson. The rest of the top 10. Now we'll wait for all the rest of these marbles to come in. Those that don't get burned by the fire. And then we'll roll through for any of you that have head-to-head bets with friends like I do. Looks like everyone's coming in pretty quickly. The fire is just about to hose everyone. And we are done. CFL 60 OG. Congratulations. Fire us an email, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com. Let us know what size you are as well, CFL 60 OG. Congratulations. Moving down, there's Phyllis and Kelly Strothman, who are right there at the end. Kelly Menard, One Bird, Oak Fun Guy. Big Maple had a nice run. I see Isha Boy Bruce in there. What's up, Bruce? There's Duck Dad, Father Mallard, as he's known on the poker table. Let's see. We got Ryan Dry. T-Will. T-Will had some zingers in the chat today. Have a good weekend, T-Will. Oh, there's Hustler, 48th. Nicely done, or 47th, I should say. I think I beat the guys this week. There's Amanda. Shout out to Amanda. Even she's out in Montreal this weekend on a girls' trip, still making sure she gets in the marble race. That's the commitment that we appreciate here on WST. See Bravo Bride. There's Jen Cool from the EST crew. Scott Westman. There's Val. Doug McFadden. Who else have we got here? Kevin Berg. What's up, Kev? Corey O. Ken B. 110-yard field. Finished 103rd. Not bad. Corey O. There's D. Chalice and AJ. Continuing through, Rob Pepper. We see Eric Bear there. Stella Luz. Jeremy Nickerson. There's Klassen. And Danielle. Danielle Roy. By the way, Danielle, you were the last marble across. Danielle is also with that crew of girls that are out in Montreal. If you're watching, I hope you guys are all having fun. Remis, I did not realize Danielle was the second last marble last week. And do you remember it looked like she was going to win and then hit that one obstacle at the end that shot her back and that other one went in?
Yes.
And Danielle's a big Eagles fan. Actually, I guess that was 2 weeks ago because it was the day of the Chiefs-Eagles game, or the weekend of the Chiefs-Eagles game. I saw her the next week and she said, you did me dirty in the marble race, but at least the Eagles beat the Chiefs. And I'm like, well, I would have taken you winning the marble race and having the Chiefs win. Thank you very much. So anyways, fun stuff to what's up to the girls out in Montreal and everyone that joined us on today's marble race today. CFL 60 OG. Today's winner. This is perfect. Ending the program with about 6 holes left in the afternoon rounds of the Ryder Cup. I know what I'll be doing, Remo. What do you have cooking this weekend?
Man, I got my son's first hockey tomorrow morning.
Oh, that's fun.
Early, 8:00 a.m. And so we're going from doesn't care at all about hockey to me forcing him to play twice a weekend. I'm really nervous about it. He's taken skating lessons the last couple of years. So he's fine skating, but never really held a stick or shot a puck. We went to the outdoor rink.
That's what it's all about. I mean, it'll be awesome.
We did soccer and basketball. He was into it. Never really done hockey. So I'm going to be up very early Saturday and Sunday morning at the rink. I did volunteer to help out with some of the drills. So I figure if I'm out there, maybe he'll want to be out there too. Gonna have lots of bribe. Yeah, I hear you got to bribe him after. Bring money for the vending machine for the candy.
Yeah,
maybe I'll have
McDonald's trip afterwards or something like that.
Yeah, I'll give him some Pokemon cards in the car. That'll help too. I got all the equipment. We tried it on. We did have an incident a couple weeks ago. Went to a skating birthday party where we hadn't tried on his skates from April, and he grew 2 sizes. So,
oh wow!
So they didn't fit, so we couldn't skate. I'm freaking out here. So we'll see how it goes.
Got to stay on top. Well, good luck to Evan on the ice.
Yes,
as well as to you doing your coaching duties or drill duties. That should be a lot of fun. I look forward to a report on Monday.
I'm not head coach material. I said I'd help out. I'm not head coach, but happy to assist. They need volunteers, and we always talk with Sport Manitoba about volunteering. And if I'm going to have a child involved, I figured I should. One of our friends of the program is on the coach list. I saw Steve Dubienski. So,
nice.
I don't know if I've ever met him in person, but he did give us those sweet the peg hats.
Oh man, Doobie's a heck of a great dude. We should get him back on the program next time. He's very noted sports psychologist. So next time, we may need a sports psychologist to come in for the two of us after losing to Hammer in the poker tournament again on Wednesday. October 22nd is now circled on the calendar for revenge. And yes, there will be a bounty, $100 on Hammer's head if you take him out over at Coolbet. Hey, this is going to be a great weekend. I'm going to get to watching the Ryder Cup. I hope you all have a great one. Huge thanks to all the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Hopefully many of you will see you at the football game tomorrow, 2 p.m., Princess Auto Stadium. or maybe the hockey game tomorrow night at Canada Life Center at 7 o'clock. And hey, if you're at the game, you might just see myself and my partner in the lock shop, none other than Mr. Dustin Nielsen, who's calling the game tomorrow night because he'll ditch the suit after the football game and we're going to head out. So really looking forward to what should be a fun weekend. 2 great CFL games tonight. Blue Jays, tons of Winnipeg sports tomorrow, and of course a big NFL Sunday and the final day of the Major League Baseball regular season. We are going to have so much to talk about Monday. I hope you join us then, but don't forget, 9 a.m. on Saturday, Connor and Liz, WST Sunday Live. Monday morning, the WST Bomber Report coming out of tomorrow's game will be live with Connor and Zach, and then Remis and I will be live again at 1 p.m. on Monday to kick off another week of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks for being with us.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.